Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. Start with God-level anti-armor at the beginning. Chapter 21. Doctor, what you look like now. Lin Yu looked at the decadent and embarrassed Dr. Otto, and said with a smile. Dr. Otto also reacted, a little embarrassed, and quickly said, I'm sorry, Mr. Lin Yu, please wait for me for a while. But after a while, Dr. Otto had washed up briefly, changed into a new outfit, and appeared in front of Lin Yu. Hearing the good news that Lin Yu was willing to fund him, Dr. Otto looked much younger. The decadence was swept away. After a detailed conversation with Lin Yu, Otto also bluntly stated that in order to restart the research, a large amount of tritium elements are needed. These things are rare substances on the Earth. Not only are the prices very high, but also the reserves are scarce. The United States only has Osborne Industries. Lin Yu smiled, telling Dr. Otto not to worry, but did not say clearly that the Osborne industry would be secretly controlled by him, and all tritium elements could be provided to Dr. Otto by then. With Lin Yu's guarantee, Otto and Mrs. Rose were overjoyed. This time, in order to avoid another accident, Mrs. Rose said, Mr. Lin Yu, the artificial sun is not stable. In order to avoid problems again, this time the location has to choose a place far away from human habitation. I've considered this a long time ago. Most of Texas is a desert. Research and experiments there will not have a big impact, and few people pay attention to it. What do you think? In Lin Yu's view, Dr. Otto and his experimental results are already his personal belongings, so he is naturally thoughtful, and the site is selected for the experiment in Texas, which will not attract attention. Mrs. Rose and the two have also become full-time researchers under their own hands. For the last accident, both Dr. Otto and Mrs. Rose had a lot of shadows. Hearing Lin Yu's consideration, he definitely would not object. After simply discussing the specific time, Lin Yu was in Otto the doctor and Mrs. Rose saw each other off and left. Lin Yu was very satisfied that her plan went so smoothly, but in just 1 week, all the shares of Osborne among the retail investors in the market had been acquired by Future Technology. With the investment of Future Technology, everyone is naturally scrambling to sell. Chairman, we have connected several members of the board of directors of Osborne Industry. They are willing to sell their shares, but the asking price is a bit outrageous. In the office, Commander reported all kinds of news related to the Osborne industry to Lin Yu one by one. Hearing that these sloppy things still wanted a price, Lin Yu frowned slightly, and couldn't help exuding a trace of murderous intent. Just buy it at the price they asked for. Anyway, no matter how much money they have, they will die. After a while, Lin Yu opened his mouth. From his point of view, Osborne Industry is a hot cake, and the present efforts will be rewarded in the future, and he doesn't care about the temporary benefits. Yes, Chairman, I'll do it now. After buying the shares, you can contact the black market and do it cleanly, understand? Yes. 3 days later, the latest issue of the newspaper was distributed on Lin Yu's desk, and the headline seemed to be related to the Osborne industry. An explosion occurred at Osborne Industries, and all 7 members of the board of directors were killed. After simply reading the news, the corners of Lin Yu's mouth curled up slightly. However, in just 3 days, he had eliminated all Osborne's board members and caused an explosion. It seems that this gold medal killer is indeed worthy of the price he gave. Have you confirmed that all these people have been dealt with? Lin Yu asked Commander. This matter must be cautious. If one is not careful, it is easy to cause big problems. Commander nodded. Except for the chairman of the Osborne Industrial Board, Norman Osborne, who was not in the company at the time because he participated in a public welfare ceremony, all other board shareholders were, unfortunately, killed. Very good. Pay the commission over there. I'm curious about this gold medal killer now. I'm afraid it's not an ordinary person. Lin Yu had a smile on his face. He now controls 9 layers of shares in Osborne Industry. It can be said that it is already his private enterprise. Chairman, that killer is a legend in the mercenary world. His nickname is Deadpool. He has a weird personality, and no one has seen his true face. However, it is said that as long as he takes on the mission, he has never missed it. Pass. Mentioning this gold medal killer, even Commander was a little shocked, but when Lin Yu heard the word Deadpool, Lin Yu frowned. He knew more about the famous Deadpool than Commander. It turned out to be him. No wonder. The chairman knows about Deadpool. This time it was Comanda's turn to be surprised. Lin Yu became the chairman not long ago, and before he took over, Lin Yu was just an ignorant dude in the eyes of everyone. He didn't expect to know the gold medal in the dark world, killer. Oh, nothing. By the way, how are things going in Texas? The experimental base has been established, and all the preparations have been completed. All the tritium elements of the Osborne industry are now being escorted, and will be sent to the experimental base in Texas soon. For all the requirements of Dr. Otto, they are all trying to be satisfied. Comanda told Lin Yu all the progress of the matter, and everything went well, which made Lin Yu feel even better. Chairman, there is another piece of good news. Looking at Lin Yu's expression, Comanda also had a smile on her face. Our subsidiary has developed a game called PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which has become popular all over the world. The game market has almost occupied more than 7 layers of market share, and even the company's stock has risen by 3 points. Oh, that's right. What's the name of the person in charge of the company? I can reward you. Norman Osborn definitely doesn't have such courage. Who can tell me what's going on? In the secret base of the military department, General Suo looked angry, and the big bosses of the military department sitting around were silent, and they didn't dare to speak at all. What was displayed in front of everyone was the latest news this morning. The Osborne industry had an accidental explosion. Except for Chairman Norman Osborn, all members of the board of directors have died. General, the police have already intervened in the investigation. Norman Osborn happened to be away at the time. Although it was strange, no clues related to him were found, so one of them bravely opened his mouth and told the news he got. Fart, you mean it had nothing to do with Osborn, it was an accident? General Suo snorted coldly and interrupted his words. General Suo is definitely not stupid to be able to achieve the position of the boss of the military department. The military department has already bought off the owner of the board of directors of Osborne Industry and is preparing to acquire Osborne Industry. At this juncture, everyone died, accidentally, and the aging General Suo immediately understood that someone must have leaked the news. Check it out for me. Starting from Osborne, no matter who dares to fight against me, I will make him die ugly. General Suo gritted his teeth, and everyone could feel his anger. They could only nod submissively, mobilize the strength of his men, and began to investigate this series of events. Similarly, several bigwigs in the aerospace industry who conspired with the military and received a large amount of military funding also looked ugly. This accident was caught off guard, and even the military had no countermeasures, let alone them. And at the moment Lin Yu's helicopter has already flown over the uninhabited Texas state, rarely seeing the green Gobi Desert, slowly emerging the shadow of a complex of buildings, which was originally an old the industrial park, which was later abandoned, is now acquired by future technology. On the surface, this industrial park looks dilapidated, but in fact, there is still a large underground space under the industrial park. Under Lin Yu's arrangement, Dr. Otto will start the research on the artificial sun again underground. Soon, the helicopter stopped, and Lin Yu directly entered the underground research base through the elevator on the ground. The space inside is not small, and Lin Yu has a big heart. This underground base is not only used for artificial sun, it is planned that other special experiments will be carried out in the future, so Lin Yu invested an unimaginable amount of money during the construction. Doctor, are you ready? Seeing that Dr. Otto had reinstalled several mechanical arms on his body, and stood in front of the generator with a serious face, Lin Yu asked with a smile. These mechanical arms have been improved, adding a lot of research results of future technology. Even the chips that place the octopus claws for backlash have been modified under Lin Yu's instructions, so they won't be as fragile as in the movie. Don't worry, Chairman, this time I started from the equation to test from scratch, and I have perfected the research, so there will be no problems. In the secret laboratory, there is a lot of space, and there are many preventive measures. Even if something goes wrong, the surrounding super-reinforced alloy barriers can resist most impacts and will not cause much damage. Very good. Let's get started. Lin Yu seemed impatient compared to Dr. Otto. In order to strengthen his armor of thorns again, he had spent a lot of thought, and now he was finally about to get what he wanted. Shish. In the generator, a large group of projectiles formed by tritium elements were concentrated by the laser. Compared with the previous test, the generator made by Dr. Otto this time was much larger. Not only the protective cover was strengthened many times, but the other various equipment has also been improved, and according to Dr. Otto's calculations, it has been able to perfectly form a stable artificial sun. Boom! With a soft sound, the group of tritium elements concentrated by the powerful laser suddenly changed drastically, expanding rapidly, and instantly turned into a ball of huge amounts of fire. Even though the intense heat and light were blocked by the protective cover, everyone still felt very uncomfortable. Only Lin Yu acted as if nothing had happened. After his body has been continuously strengthened, not only his strength and toughness have increased a lot, but even his resistance to high-temperature flames is so strong that it is outrageous. Successful. Dr. Otto's face was overjoyed. Looking at the red sun in front of him, he really had the aura of the sun. With the surge of energy, a solar storm slowly formed on the surface of the artificial sun. The intense energy caused the protective cover formed by the generator to bulge a little. The solar storm compressed and shrunk, and it seemed that there was no major problem for a while. Just when this large artificial sun was formed, a joyful roar sounded in the distant flame world, and Serta's eyes opened again. Last time, the fluctuation of the small sun disappeared too quickly, so he only felt it slightly, and this time, drive. Otto used a large amount of tritium, and the fluctuation was obviously many times more violent, which was discovered immediately by the vigilant Serta. Following Serta's roar, there was a loud dragon chant in the darkness. The mountain lying low on the ground moved, its wings slowly spread, and a huge fire dragon suddenly ignited a blazing flame, reflecting its body. Every detail is revealed. The powerful Longwei radiated, causing a large number of flame demons around to let out terrified and unknown screams, and move towards the distance. That's the feeling. The energy from the same source can restore me to my peak strength. Serta's voice was deep, but there was a trace of suppressed excitement. Feeling the power of the artificial sun again, he quickly captured the specific location. Although the distance was far away, he was able to open the space channel by consuming a lot of original power. Follow me. Serta also had flames rising from his body, and said to the huge fire dragon that was roaring endlessly. Blazing flames gushed out, and under the frightening energy fluctuations, Serta uttered cadenced syllables, and a huge amounts of magic circle slowly formed in front of him, bursting out violent spatial aura, smashing the surrounding earth and rocks, and the momentum terrifying. With the outline of the magic circle, Fire King Serta roared. After losing the eternal flame, his power is no longer as good as it was in its heyday. The power of man-made sun is a big gamble for him, risking being discovered and suppressed again by God's domain. He forcibly descends to another realm. Walk. The magic circle is completely outlined, and the space is like a broken mirror making a crackling sound, but the sound is much more terrifying, and the broken space is as huge as a mountain range. After an order, the huge wings of the fire dragon retracted, Serta and the figure of the fire dragon disappeared into the flame world in an instant. It's finally stabilized. Dr. Otto wiped the sweat off his face, looked at the artificial sun in front of him, and said in a low voice with joy, "Chairman, I finally lived up to everyone's expectations and completed the research." Lin Yu also had a look of excitement on his face. In his body, the armor of thorns was more active than ever before, and he couldn't wait to devour the energy of the artificial sun in front of him. Very good. Dr. Otto, you are doing well. Lin Yu praised, and walked slowly towards the huge amounts of artificial sun. The armor of thorns slowly emerged, and soft beats sounded, and golden light mist gradually emerged around Lin Yu's body. These are the armor of thorns. A's instinctive reaction is not under Lin Yu's control. Seeing Lin Yu slowly approaching the artificial sun, and seeing strange changes in his body, even Dr. Otto was a little surprised. Chairman, be careful. You can't get any closer. The temperature inside is quite terrifying, and the human body has no way to fight against it. Dr. Otto's expression changed. Lin Yu had already crossed the safe distance and stood in front of the generator. If he didn't have some special mechanical arms, he wouldn't dare to touch the artificial sun easily. Don't worry, I'm fine. Lin Yu's voice sounded, and in Dr. Otto's astonished eyes, a large amount of golden red energy turned into a light beam, which was drawn by the energy of the armor of thorns and directed towards Lin Yu's body, and then was swallowed by the armor of thorns. From Dr. Otto's point of view, Lin Yu's body was just swept by a strange solar storm, and he was about to be turned into fly ash. But what surprised him even more was that the powerful energy directly broke through the protective shield with waves of impact Lin Yu's body, but Lin Yu was still intact, and she closed her eyes with a look of enjoyment. Could it be that the chairman is a mutant or a super ability user? A strange idea appeared in Dr. Otto's mind, and only this explanation could make sense. However, Otto still had some worries in his eyes when he saw Lin Yu continuously devouring the energy of the artificial sun. For him, Lin Yu is benefactor, he doesn't want to see Lin Yu destroyed by the artificial sun he created. Dr. Otto's mind Lin Yu didn't know, he was already immersed in the crazy devouring at the moment. A large amount of solar energy was swallowed by the thorn armor, and a stream of somewhat blazing warm current was fed back to all parts of his body, making his body. Strange changes took place in the body again. Lin Yu was perceiving the strengthening of his body while paying attention to the information in his brain. The two gray skill icons, after devouring a large amount of special energy from the artificial sun, the gray color faded and became much clearer and more vivid. At a certain moment, the two icons were blazing brightly and took shape in an instant. Lin Yu also fully understood the skills represented by the two icons, which made him very happy. On the panel in Lin Yu's mind, the upper limit of energy defense has been raised to nearly 2000, and with the progress of the devouring, it has not stopped, but Lin Yu already has a sense of satisfaction, which does not come from himself, but from himself. It is the armor of thorns. After Lin Yu understood it, she sighed helplessly. This is the armor of thorns that has swallowed enough of the same special substance, and it is almost saturated. The improvement of Jujia didn't help any more. Boom. Roar. Just when Lin Yu was sighing, there was a loud bang and a strange roar in his ears, which woke him up instantly, and he looked at the empty space not far in front of him. But at the moment, the space where Lin Yu's gaze was located was originally empty, but now a strange change has taken place. The space fluctuates violently like water waves, and then shatters, forming a deep black hole, and continued to expand. Everything around was instantly annihilated in the shattered space, and there was a palpitating aura in it. The roar of the beast that woke Lin Yu up just now came from it. Dr. Otto was already stunned. He is a scientist. He saw the shattered space and the roar of some kind of beast, which shocked his cognition of the world. Did not respond. A strong sense of crisis struck, and Lin Yu couldn't help but get goosebumps on his skin. In the black hole, he felt some kind of powerful threat, and he was hostile towards him. Give me, hurry, stop. A roar sounded, and the sound was far away at first, but when the voice was about to fall, the sound had almost reached the front of the black hole. Slaw. A huge sharp claw protruding from the black hole protruded from the black hole, directly grabbed the hole of the black hole, and tore it vigorously. Even the black hole was torn a lot like a piece of paper, and it expanded several times in an instant. The high temperature directly destroyed the laboratory. The hard alloy body melted, and large pieces of earth and rock were constantly cracked and fell, hitting the ground, making bursts of explosions. Boom. As a huge amount of rock fell, the laboratory was completely shattered and exposed to the night. The blazing flames illuminated everything around. The black hole in space that suddenly appeared had completely penetrated the underground and the ground, and the momentum was extremely terrifying. As the black hole expanded, Lin Yu's pupils shrank, and through the hole, he saw clearly a strange beast in the black hole. From the perspective of Westerners, this is a dragon, but in Lin Yu's view, it is some kind of ferocious lizard magnified countless times, with thick white fangs, huge amounts of sharp claws on its limbs, and a short and stubby its tail is covered with blazing flames. Through the black hole, the mighty might of the flaming dragon descended, making Dr. Otto paralyzed and almost unable to stand still. The gap in the biological level brought him unparalleled pressure. Dr. Otto, you leave now. Lin Yu didn't react too slowly. While taking the time to absorb the energy of the artificial sun and improve the ability of the thorn armor, she gave a light drink to Dr. Otto. The fire dragon brought a strong sense of crisis to Lin Yu. Once a battle broke out, it would be quite fierce. He was not sure that he could protect Dr. Otto well in such a battle, so he stopped him and left quickly. Dr. Otto, who opened his mouth wide, realized it now, and was shocked when he saw the strange fire dragon coming through the space and the creature sitting on it. Chairman, I can fight with you. The octopus claws danced. Dr. Otto looked serious, but he did not escape alone, but roared, ready to fight. Lin Yu was out of breath, the fire dragon was huge, and the power of the dragon on his body was terrifying. Dr. Otto was just holding on. The intense heat on the fire dragon alone was not something Drive Otto could bear, even though he had a few. Even a powerful mechanical arm may be difficult to match. Go, you are only distracting me here, I can handle it. And at the moment, roaring in the space black hole, seeing Lin Yu continuously absorbing the energy of the artificial sun, causing the artificial sun to shrink a lot, the flame giant was very angry, and directly ordered the fire dragon to cross the space and rush towards Lin Yu at a speed of hurry up, it's here in the blink of an eye. Dr. Otto opened his mouth and wanted to say more, but he could only growl when he saw this situation, not daring to disobey Lin Yu's order, opened the door of the experimental base in a blink of an eye, and rushed out. Everyone evacuate quickly, Dr. Otto yelled loudly, which alarmed the few staff members in the base. When it happened just now, everyone was a little panicked. The underground base is quite secretive, and most of the people who can be here are staff, except for a few security personnel that Lin Yu trusts. There is no one else, and before Dr. Otto could finish speaking, there was a loud bang in the laboratory. Boom! The entire underground base was shaking violently, almost collapsing. The panicked people ran towards the ground and quickly rushed to the ground. Looking at the underground base that had begun to collapse, they heard a terrifying beast coming from it. The roar and the huge coercion made everyone startled. Under the urging of Dr. Otto, they quickly evacuated the area. The dragon's body is huge. After tearing open the space crack, it slowly appeared in front of Lin Yu's eyes. His bloodthirsty eyes fixed on Lin Yu tightly, making the hairs on Lin Yu's body stand on end, and he was fully focused, ready to fight at any time. The flames were burning, and Lin Yu stood in front of the artificial sun, constantly absorbing the strange energy in it. After a roar that shook the sky, the fire dragon launched an attack brazenly. The thick tail of the dragon rolled back and turned into a shocking pillar of fire, towards Lin Yu, the position where it was slammed down heavily, and even the space trembled slightly, unable to withstand this unparalleled force. Lin Yu's pupils constricted. Now is the critical moment to absorb the special energy in the artificial sun, and it is nearing the end. He doesn't want to be interrupted. Looking at the huge dragon tail approaching in the blink of an eye, the golden mist rising from Lin Yu's body changes, golden the mask suddenly appeared, completely enveloping Lin Yu's body. Boom! The violent energy and impact were wanton, plowing the surrounding soil and rocks into disarray. Ding! Impacted by dragon. Target person, dragon. Attack energy value, 966. Absorbable, rebound, non-analyzable backup. Is it a rebound? Lin Yu's body was shaken, and was hit hard by the huge dragon tail. Ripples appeared on the golden mask that had just risen. The process of absorbing the artificial sun has just ended, and a huge amount of energy is being accumulated in his body. Seeing this in his heart shout out, "Give me a full rebound, double the energy value." Boom! The golden light ravaged recklessly, doubling the powerful impact energy, and directly bounced towards Dragon. Dragon didn't pay any attention to such a tiny creature like Lin Yu, and wanted to crush him with a full impact, but encountered a powerful force instead. The energy shield blocked it, and in the midst of surprise, an unparalleled rebound force came, directly acting on its body. Fire Dragon is very aware of how powerful the attack power of his own dragon tail is, and the blow that Lin Yu bounced back was twice as powerful as his dragon tail's full force. The unparalleled force directly hit Fire Dragon, making it let out a cry of pain. The body flew rapidly, and crashed into a barren hill. Earth, rocks, and flames flew in disorder. What is this? Lin Yu watched as the dragon slammed into the hills. The blazing flames burned and melted the surrounding rocks into flowing magma, and the fire dragon slowly stood up, shaking its head angrily and roaring. Its face was very ugly. Just now it was the critical time for the armor of thorns to absorb the artificial sun, but it encountered this strange creature making trouble. If he hadn't reacted in time, he might have been injured by now. The flame cracks torn by the fire dragon have begun to shrink slowly, and the damage to everything around has gradually decreased. The terrifying space storm has converged, and it seems that it is about to disappear. However, at the moment when the crack was about to close, the blinding flames burst into flames. A big hand with huge amounts of flame directly penetrated the space crack and stretched out. Lin Yu's complexion changed. looking at the huge flaming palm that was constantly tearing apart the space crack, and instantly expanding the space crack that was about to close dozens of times. His body tensed up, and his face became more serious. Originally, he thought there was only a fire dragon, but he didn't expect the space that was torn open. There are other creatures in the crack, and judging by the file size of the giant flaming hand, the creatures that appear may be even bigger than the dragon. Dr. Otto and the others who had been far away from here watched the fire dragon flapping its wings and circling in midair, which was thrown away by Lin Yu. Compared with the hands, it seems worthless. God, what is that? Why can the space be torn apart? Is it a creature from another world that is about to descend on the earth? Doomsday. The chairman is still there, will he? Shut up. Dr. Otto shouted coldly, hugging his trembling wife tightly in his arms, watching the scene in the distance that subverted everyone's imagination. Chairman, he will be fine. Under everyone's gaze, the spatial rift has expanded to the limit, almost forming an exotic portal, dozens of times larger than the surrounding low hills. Boom! A terrifying flaming giant sword erupted with divine power, splitting out from the crack in the space, and the space split like a rag in an instant. The figure burning with huge flames stepped out step by step, stepping heavily on the ground. The dull heavy sound was transmitted very far away, and the blazing flames almost illuminated this desolate and uninhabited land. This is a flame giant as tall as a mountain, and the flames on his body are soaring. Compared with the flame giant, the dragon hovering and whimpering in the sky is like the flame giant's pet, which is simply incomparable. The size of the dragon is quite frightening, and it is not comparable to the creatures recognized by the human world, and the giant that has appeared now looks down on the dragon, leaving everyone with nothing but shock and horror, even Lin Yu just now. Dr. Otto, who had great hopes, felt a little desperate. The absolute difference in body size, no matter how strong Lin Yu was, it would be difficult for Lin Yu to compete. In the uninhabited semi-desert hilly area of Texas, the artificial sun first successfully triggered huge amounts of energy fluctuations, which have been captured by satellites above the Earth, which has attracted the attention of all parties, but it is not waiting for everyone to figure out what happened. What terrifying spatial fluctuations came, and after quantifying these energy fluctuations, many people thought that there was a problem with the computer. General, this is the picture captured by the satellite, and the safety of the Earth is threatened. My God, what is that? No, I must report to the president immediately. Let him decide. In SHIELD, there is also a blurry satellite image transmitted. The one-eyed black man is watching coldly, his brows are tightly frowned, and his heart is throbbing. Such humanoid creatures and dragons should exist in legends or myths, but now they really appear. It is definitely a foreign visitor, and through quantitative data analysis, such an existence is difficult to beat. All parties on the Earth who have seen everything have different reactions, but they are all quite nervous, paying attention to the development of the situation, and ready to dispatch special forces at any time. As for the person involved, Lin Yu, facing the flame giant like a burning mountain, there was no fear in his eyes, and there was even a hint of interest in his eyes. When the flame giant stepped out of the space crack, only Lin Yu could clearly hear the flames on him. The armor of thorns let out a joyful whisper. This kind of whisper can only be emitted when the armor of thorns encounters the desired substance or energy. And the thing that attracts the armor of thorns to whisper is none other than the two terrifying sharp horns on the head of the ferocious flame giant. My name is Serta, the king of giants in the flame world, a small ant. Give me the strange fire in front of you, and swear to me as Lord, I can give you the powerful power you dream of. Flame giant was covered in flames, and he spoke in a deep voice, and the air vibrated like thunder. While speaking, flame giant spewed out intense flames from between his moving lips, causing the surrounding space to be slightly distorted by burning. Serta, Lord of the Balrog. Hearing this name, Lin Yu realized instantly, isn't this the one in the plot of Thor 3 who holds a huge flaming sword in his hand, is 10,000 ren in height, can directly fight Hela, the goddess of death, and in the end directly blows up God's domain. Serta, why don't you stay in the world of flames and come to the earth? Don't you think God's domain doesn't know what you're doing? With a sneer on Lin Yu's face, he threatened. Lin Yu, who is familiar with the plot, knew that Serta was almost beaten by Odin back then. Hearing Lin Yu's words, Serta's face changed, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. How do you know God's domain? Immediately Serta came to his senses and snorted coldly. a small ant, so what if God's domain knows about it? How dare they attack the great Serta? Lin Yu looked at Serta's performance, laughed inwardly, and yelled loudly, "Great! You were beaten by God's domain back then and shrunk into the world of flames. Even the eternal fire is still in Odin's treasure collection room. How shameless are you?" Lin Yu's body is full of energy at this moment, absorbing a lot of the power of the artificial sun, which makes him confident enough to fight Serta, and he believes that the armor of thorns will also become hyperactive when encountering objects that are eager to devour. Quite a few will help him fight together. Pained by Lin Yu's words, Serta suddenly raged, and Yang Tian let out a growl. Although he didn't know how Lin Yu knew these secrets, facing the temptation of the artificial sun and Lin Yu's underestimation, he couldn't bear it anymore. With a movement of the hand, the flaming long sword erupted with terrifying energy fluctuations, and the sky-shattering flames rose tens of meters instantly, and a beam of energy light blade shining with red light shot straight towards Lin Yu. With one sword strike, the space shatters. There are tiny space cracks attached to the huge flame light blade, making Lin Yu's pupils constrict, and the energy light blade is so vast that it seems to be able to cut through the earth, just because this sword is too huge. The space where Lin Yu stood was completely covered by Serta's terrifying sword. He had no way to dodge, and Lin Yu didn't want to dodge either. The golden mist covering Lin Yu's body spread completely, transforming into a huge amounts of golden shield. Facing a sword, Lin Yu did not dare to be careless, and had raised the armor of thorns defense to the limit. My God, what is that? A sword swung by a giant. Is this a blow from a god? The people standing with Dr. Otto are already horrified. How can people live like this? If it was a small town, I am afraid that it would be wiped out directly under such a sword. Dr. Otto also had a look of despair in his eyes. He was secretly blaming and regretting. If it weren't for his research to create an artificial sun, he wouldn't have attracted such a powerful monster. Boom! The seemingly slow huge flame light blade is fast, but in a blink of an eye, it has already crushed in front of the huge mask formed by Lin Yu. The moment the two touched, the light overflowed, and the powerful energy fluctuations spread out, like an atomic bomb explosion, directly killing Lin Yu. The surrounding low hills are completely shrouded, and everyone can only see clearly. With the focus on the point where the light shield and the flame light blade collide, the energy is raging, everything is burning and annihilated, and the earth and rocks are melting rapidly. Become a flowing blazing magma. Lin Yu is in the center of the explosion, and the perception is the most vivid. Ding! Attacked by flame energy light blade, target person, Lord Serta. Attack energy value, 2000. Absorbable, reboundable, parsable backup. Is it a rebound? Do you want to parse the backup? Analytic backup consumes energy value, 4000. After devouring the artificial sun, the armor of thorns has been greatly improved. The upper limit of energy defense has exceeded 2000 points, reaching a terrifying 3000 points. If Lin Yu hadn't seized the time to complete the devouring just now, I'm afraid Serta would have attacked him in anger. Has been hit hard. Parse the backup. No need. Lin Yu's eyes were cold. After the armor of thorns was devoured, the flame control and the omnipotent skylight had been completely unlocked, and Serta's angry blow was just like his flame control, which attached the flame energy to the attack. The energy of the light blade was quickly swallowed up by the golden light shield, and the heat was quickly fading away. The sonic boom from the friction between the light shield and the light blade made the scalp tingle, but a haze passed through Serta's heart, because he could clearly sense, I hid with anger, not only did not kill the tiny ants in front of me, but it was still being consumed rapidly. General, I think it's necessary for you to look at the picture captured by the satellite just now. That weird flame creature launched an attack. In the aerospace command room, the voices of the staff were a little trembling, and they zoomed in on the picture to show it to a big guy with an ugly face. It was the blazing blade of light bursting out from a shocking flame sword, but now it is slowly shrinking, as if it did not really hit the ground, and in front of the rising blade of flame, only a blurry image can be seen. It was golden in color, although it was not as huge as the flaming light blade, but it forcibly resisted the killing of the flaming light blade. What is the golden light? Alien creatures or mysterious Asgardians on Earth? The general looked at the golden light group that stopped in the frame, and doubts filled his eyes. To become a military leader, he naturally knew many strange powers beyond ordinary people's cognition. Seeing this scene, he immediately had various guesses. Look, the energy of the flame light blade is decreasing sharply, it has doubled in size, and it is still shrinking rapidly. But in the blink of an eye, the towering flame light blade on the screen began to shrink, and disappeared in a blink of an eye, while the golden color that was fighting fiercely with the flame light blade was shining endlessly. Serta, is this the only strength you have? Under Serta's apprehensive eyes, Lin Yu's flat voice sounded clearly, although it was not loud, but it made Serta feel a kind of humiliation. It was Hong Guguo's contempt. Roar, rage as Serta roared, he was actually looked down upon by the ants in his eyes. What's it called? Let you also feel my power. Lin Yu was also furious in his heart, facing Serta without fear. The flame control icon in the sea of consciousness suddenly flashed, and the golden light mask rose up, covering it with a layer of blazing golden flame in an instant. Compared with Serta's flame, the terrifying high temperature, the light blade is even stronger, directly vaporizing the surrounding soil and rocks that are about to melt into magma. Bounce me, double energy, Lin Yu shouted in his heart. The powerful flames on the mask instantly condensed, and a huge amount of golden flame blade was formed in the blink of an eye. After Lin Yu injected 4,000 points of energy value, this light blade became extremely huge, compared to the power of Serta's angry blow just now was several times stronger. It was too late to say all this, and it happened in an instant, and the light blade formed by the condensed golden flames had already drawn an arc, slashing towards Serta with majestic momentum and killing intent. Seeing the golden flames flickering on the light blade, even Serta was taken aback for a moment, and then the flames on his body shrank suddenly, feeling a strong sense of oppression and crisis. Serta was a little shocked watching this golden flame rising attack. It was clearly the same as the flame light blade he had just now, but the energy contained in it and the blaze of the flame far exceeded his own attack. Serta would not dare to believe it. Why can a small human being be able to rebound his own attack, and it has also strengthened so much? As the king of the flame demon, he has ruled the flame world for countless years. He never thought that one day he would have such a strong sense of crisis when facing a flame attack from an ant-like human being. Ah! The rising flames on his body were suppressed. Serta roared, watching the rapidly approaching golden light blade. The huge sword in his hand rotated, raised high above his head, bursting with momentum. All the strength was not reserved. Facing the golden light blade, he slashed down with all his strength. Bah! Boom! The golden light blade collided with the flaming giant sword in Serta's hand, and the two detonated instantly. For a moment, the sky shook, as if a major earthquake had occurred. Boom! Accompanied by intense energy fluctuations, the violent sound waves swept in all directions. Above the wildness, a violent hurricane instantly formed and spread rapidly. A large amount of earth and rock were swept up by the violent hurricane, heading towards the location of Dr. Otto and the others. Come surging. Get out of the way. Dr. Otto yelled loudly, and several mechanical arms on his body danced, and forcibly grabbed a huge amount of rock on the ground to block the crowd. Everyone screamed when they saw this scene, shrinking their bodies as much as possible and hiding under the huge amount of rock later. Bang bang bang. A large amount of earth and rock debris hit the huge rock supported by Dr. Otto under the hurricane, and continued to shatter. Dr. Otto's body was also held by the hurricane, his face was flushed, and he resisted with all his strength. Once he couldn't hold it, the rock would everyone behind will be involved, and the flesh and blood will face the earth and rock debris with laughing heads, and the consequences can be imagined. Everyone's eyes were horrified, and they were staggered by the hurricane. They tried their best to avoid a large amount of earth and rocks, and they all prayed in their hearts that Dr. Otto could block it. Finally, when the hurricane blew past, Dr. Otto's face darkened, he was pale and bloodless, several mechanical arms hung down weakly, and the huge rock he grabbed soon fell to the ground with a bang, shattered into pieces, and became a pile of rubble. Retreat. A weak voice sounded, and Dr. Otto shouted to everyone. The aftermath of Lin Yu and Serta's attack just now almost wiped out their entire army. If they don't stay away, everyone will suffer disaster. Everyone reacted, and hurriedly helped drive Otto, who was a little weak, and ran away in a hurry. Many people secretly regretted in their hearts. They should have driven a car or a helicopter when they evacuated just now. They should have been far away from the battlefield now, but it's too late to regret. They are now giving birth to a few more legs, let them run faster. Whoa whoa. Aftermath slowly dodged away, Serta's heavy breathing could be heard clearly. The huge sword in his hand was stabbed horizontally, piercing deeply into the ground to support his body. Lin Yu's blow just now shocked him so much that he almost I tried my best. As for the dragon accompanying Serta, he felt a strong death crisis under Lin Yu's attack just now. When Serta collided with the golden flame light blade, he was struggling to rise and flew to the safe sky in time, but was caught by the hurricane. The scraping was a bit unstable, but there was no real damage, but there were also human-like flashes of fear and horror in the dragon's eyes. You are not human. Are you the god of war in Asgard? Serta sounded a surprised voice, staring at Lin Yu on the ground where the golden light was slowly converging. His tone was very dignified. Lin Yu can know many secrets, and his ability is terrifying. In his opinion, he should be a member of God's domain. Smiling coldly, Lin Yu's gaze was always on the two crowns on Serta's head that resembled curved horns. These are necessary items to enhance the armor of thorns, and he will never let it go. You don't have to worry about who I am, but since you came to Earth today and provoked me, you don't have to go. The blue energy condenses and turns into a large number of electromagnetic pulse shells, which cross blue tracks and bombard Serta. Lin Yu recently helped the Wanda siblings get familiar with energy, and spends a lot of time as a training partner almost every day. There is a large amount of energy value stored in his body, which is enough for him to squander at will. Although these blue electromagnetic pulse shells are small in size, Lin Yu has boosted each of them by 10 times. The original standard energy value of the electromagnetic pulse shells was 200, but after 10 times the energy value has reached 2000. The energy intensity of a blow with anger is equal. The most important thing is that Lin Yu directly transforms into the blue fire Gatling, without any need to store energy. A large number of blue light spheres condense at will. Serta's body is as huge as a mountain, stretching across the ground, almost without Lin Yu being able to aim. All the blue electromagnetic pulse shells have landed in front of Serta. Feeling the frighteningly dense energy fluctuations in the small blue light cluster, Serta let out a roar and went all out. All the burning flames on the surface of his body shrank and gathered, turning into a body of flame armor that looked like a substance, and the long sword danced, slashed towards the dense blue light cluster. Boom, 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 boom. The sky was full of exploding electromagnetic pulse shells, and a large number of random strings of electric current completely enveloped the entire battlefield, almost turning it into a sea of electricity. After a long while, all the explosions subsided slowly. Lin Yu looked relieved. The feeling of this kind of full-scale explosion was quite refreshing. Ordinary flame giant Serta is not so comfortable. At the moment the flaming armor formed on Serta's body was already tattered, with blue electric current escaping from time to time, and Serta's body was covered with terrible scars. Burning blood dripped from the flames, melting a cloud on the ground. A pothole, emitting bursts of blue smoke. Stop, stop. Seeing the light floating on Lin Yu's body again, Serta hurriedly shouted, I admit defeat. As the Fire King, I promise that I will not come to the earth again in the future. Let me go. Serta opened his mouth in a panic, causing Lin Yu to stop what he was doing. Covered in light and mist, his body was majestic, and he stared at Serta playfully. Watching Lin Yu stop attacking, Serta's eyes flashed a hint of sternness, and secretly mobilized all the power in his body. The eternal flame was taken away by God's domain, which has greatly reduced his strength, and it is difficult to return to the peak. What happened here must not be able to hide from the eyes of Heimdall, the god of daybreak. Once he loses again, God's domain will probably send God of War to kill him completely. Go to hell. Suddenly, the two pointed crowns on Serta's head erupted with dazzling light. This is where his origin lies. In order to obtain the fire of the artificial sun, Serta did not hesitate to consume his own origin, wanting to unleash a powerful blow to kill Lin Yu. After seizing the fire, leave quickly. A warning sign suddenly surfaced in her heart, causing the hairs on Lin Yu's body to stand up unconsciously. Warn. The attack power of perception has exceeded the upper limit. The host, please respond quickly. Seeing Serta's two huge amounts of Balrog's horns emitting a frightening light, Lin Yu knew that he was still determined and wanted to fight back, but Shenluo Tianzhong. 30 times superimposed explosion. Super. Shenluo Tianzhong. After being warned, Lin Yu will not let Serta succeed easily. The upcoming attack exceeds the upper limit of the defensive cover. so Lin Yu will not foolishly wait to be beaten, and instantly activates the first ability that the thorn armor gave him, God Luo Tianzhong. After Lin Yu increased the energy output of Shenluo Tianzhong by 30 times, it has reached a shocking 6,000 points. According to Lin Yu's calculations, this blow can completely compare to the advanced version of Shenluo Tianzhong, Chao. Shenluo Tianzhong. It is so huge that it is unimaginable that the huge repulsive force is released centered on Lin Yu. Under Lin Yu's deliberate guidance, most of Chao Shenluo Tianzhong's power is concentrated in the front, facing Serta huge amounts of body. Under the terrifying force, the ground was directly plowed up, and a large amount of surface earth and rocks were rolled up. A huge hill where Lin Yu was located disappeared immediately, and was rolled up by the huge repulsion, forming a wave of earth and rocks, which became bigger and bigger. A dragon of earth and stone rolled on the ground, crushing towards Serta. Serta's attack was finally formed, and the attack he formed without hesitating to consume a huge amount of original power was also terrifying. A huge pillar of bright red flames shot towards the golden mask where Lin Yu was, just hitting the super Shenluo Tianzhong, on top of the dragon of earth and stone. The two collided, and unparalleled energy burst out instantly. Boom! The two incomparably powerful forces were incompatible with each other and confronted directly, causing huge amounts of explosion. The golden mask completely covered Lin Yu, resisting this huge explosion. The explosion of two forces caused a qualitative change. The space in the center of the explosion was annihilated, and a large number of space cracks appeared in disorder. Swallowed by space cracks, at the same time, there is still a large amount of space overflowing, attacking everything around. Lin Yu retreated, unwilling to be in the center of the storm, and quickly retreated thousands of meters with the help of a huge reaction force. Only then did she avoid the raging space turbulence. Under the swallowing of the space crack, all the aftermath of energy is being swallowed quickly, the explosion is gradually calming down, the smoke and dust are slowly settling down, and the entire battlefield is gradually becoming clear. The defense mask dissipated, and Lin Yu's breathing was slightly rapid. The instant release just now consumed a lot of energy value. He had already reacted the moment the space crack appeared. Otherwise, with his current defense level, it would be difficult to fight against the dense space cracks. The tearing power of the plunder. And Serta is much more miserable than Lin Yu. His body is huge, and he can't avoid the impact of the explosion. At the moment Serta's body is covered with large and small wounds, and the fiery red blood flows wantonly, killing his body. The whole body was dyed scarlet, some parts of the bones were broken, the wounds were deep enough to see the bones, and the broken stubbles turned out, looking horrible. Even the arm holding the sword was almost broken, and the huge amounts of flames were along the sword was also shattered and turned into a pile of burning lava. Snort. With a cold snort, without too much nonsense, Lin Yu attacked again. Serta did not give up, and sinisterly wanted to launch a powerful blow to kill himself in an instant, making Lin Yu's heart full of anger and killing intent. Let Serta go. He has tried several abilities just now, and now there is another ability that has just been unlocked, and Lin Yu also activates it accordingly. Vientian Tianian. Lin Yu snorted softly, and there was a huge aura surging in his body, which made Serta's body tremble. This aura was like an ancient god, and it shocked him even more than the strong man in the god's domain who had severely injured him. Block him for me. Serta let out a weak scream. Lin Yu's strength had already made him terrified, and he didn't have any fighting intentions at all. He has plenty of time to escape. The fire dragon let out a scream of fear. Seeing that Serta was defeated by Lin Yu's attack and was almost in a desperate situation, it was already terrified, and now Serta used it as a shield. Under the suppression of the huge force, the fire dragon could only flash desperately wings, wanting to escape. In any case, Serta never imagined that he would encounter such a terrifying existence on the earth, the weakest and most incompetent of the 9 realms. The sound of clicking was endless, the ground began to change violently, cracks were formed, and huge amounts of rock layers were broken, as if some kind of unimaginably huge creature under the surface was about to break free and break through the ground out. Seeing that Serta actually used his subordinates as a shield, Lin Yu's killing intent increased even more, and he felt sorry for Huolong. It is a kind of sadness to follow such a master. However, Lin Yu will not be soft when dealing with the enemy. At the same time when the Vientian Sky trigger was activated, Lin Yu's eyes moved slightly, thinking of the terrifying power of the 30 times superposition of Shenluo Tianzheng that made Shenluo Tianzheng into super. Shenluo Tianzheng instantly increased Vientiane's sky attracting power. 30-fold superposition. Earth explosion star. Lin Yu let out a soft drink, and as soon as the voice came out, a strange stance suddenly burst out, causing great changes in the entire battlefield. Earth explosion star is the advanced version of Vientiane sky that Lin Yu thought of. The terrifying gravitational force is condensed and compressed to form a powerful gravitational field, which gathers everything and seals everything in the center of the gravitational field. If the gravitational force used is strong enough and absorbs enough matter, it can even form a huge planet, just like the 6 sages in Hokage created the moon. The only difference is that the scale and power of Lin Yu's Earth explosion star is unlimited. And what Lin Yu has to do now is to completely seal the escaped Serta and turn him into a fish on his chopping board. The huge cracking movement of the surface rock layer was like a major earthquake, and most of the entire Texas area was strongly affected. The roar sounded from the depths of the ground, and it became more and more amplified. A powerful traction force acted on his body, which made his body, which was fleeing quickly, pause, and then became extremely slow. The center of gravitational force is Serta. Under the Earth's original magnetic field, the 2 gravitational forces attract each other, making Serta unable to move very quickly and frozen in place. "What did you do to me?" Serta roared sharply, shaking his body desperately, ignoring the splattered molten blood on his seriously injured body, trying to break free from this inexplicably terrifying field, but facing this huge gravitational force, the seriously injured Serta's struggle seemed very weak, and in front of Serta, Fire Dragon's body is completely unable to move, except for the flickering panic in his eyes. He can't even howl. What happened? In front of the screen, the leaders of special agencies in various countries who were watching the development of the situation were already too shocked. The Earth's magnetic field is out of control, and in large areas of Texas, the magnetic field is out of control. Soon, the monitoring personnel made a judgment, and their voices were about to cry. The successive shocking changes have overturned many people's cognition. The sudden change in Texas has already made everyone feel to the fear of the end. Pissed, the real-time monitoring picture suddenly disappeared, and the screen turned into a snowflake. Because the strong magnetic field changes interfered with the communication of the satellite, it was impossible to receive the specific picture. Connect to Your Excellency the President. Your Excellency, you should have seen the changes in our state of Texas, right? I request an immediate response. These foreign visitors should be very hostile to us. At this moment, not only the United States, but also other technologically advanced countries have detected the changes in the magnetic field on the Earth through the launched satellites, have launched emergency plans, and have urgently contacted the President of the United States, hoping to learn the truth of the situation. The White House, the President of the United States, has an ugly face. The development of the situation has completely exceeded his expectations, which made him lament in his heart. The words, foreign visitors, are quite heavy. If one is not handled well, it may cause shocking changes. The Doomsday War is also unknown. Leave me, please, you. Serta opened his mouth with difficulty. His body was already severely injured, and under such a huge gravitational force, his injuries were even worse. The entire huge amounts of body were about to collapse. Under the crisis of life and death, the Fire Demon King had already put down lost all dignity, can only keep begging for mercy. HMPH. Dreaming. Lin Yu's answer was very concise, and Serta fell into the abyss of despair. When he was dying, he could only struggle hard, wanting to continue living. Boom, boom, boom. Amidst a series of dull sounds, the gravitational force has reached a critical value. The ground finally completely cracked, huge amounts of rock faults split continuously, and flew towards the dark center of gravitational force in the sky. And Serta's huge body, accompanied by countless gravels, was pulled into the sky. The boulders that flew up later rushed towards the body of the Fire Demon King like a meteor, and hit Serta heavily, causing him to howl in pain. Soon, a large amount of earth and rock splashed and continuously surged, covering his body, cutting off Serta's miserable howl. The stratum has changed dramatically. A large amount of earth and rocks are still rioting, more and more earth and rocks are surging and flying, huge amounts of gravity, the induced earth and rocks Wei Yu Wanjin, even the mountain-like Balrog Lord can't stand it, the fiery blood turns into magma. Under the pressure of the huge earth and rocks, the lacing melted a large area of earth and rocks, and turned the large areas of rocks surrounding his body into surging magma, which was hot and hot. The fire dragon was even more unbearable. It was buried and squeezed by a large amount of earth and rocks without even making a scream. Before layers of earth and rocks covered it, Lin Yu could clearly see that the fire dragon's body was torn apart under the impact of gravity and the huge rock, into a pile of glowing flesh and blood. The breath of life of Surta, the lord of the Balrog, gradually weakened, and he suffered a fatal blow again after being severely injured, and he fell into death. Limit. A huge sphere composed of countless rocks was formed, quietly suspended in midair. In it, the overwhelming pressure on his body finally wiped out Surta's last hope. The pressure is getting bigger and bigger, and Surta, whose body is about to collapse, has a trace of sadness in his dim eyes. He knew that this time, he didn't want to get out of the way. Finally, boom, the entire rock ball exploded violently, and a large piece of newly condensed rock exploded from it, and large pieces of earth and rock in 1,000 tons fell directly towards the ground, and at the center of the explosion, the space shattered, directly turning into a mountain-like huge amounts of black hole, devouring everything, destroying the breath flow. Lin Yu did not expect that Surta would choose to explode himself in the end. Seeing the 1,000-ton earth and rocks fall, Lin Yu could only use his speed to the limit and kept dodging. Although these boulders would not hurt him, he was crushed. It sure doesn't feel good down there. Even Lin Yu didn't notice that there was a very weird red light in the center of the explosion that turned into strands. Although it was torn apart a lot by the space turbulence, most of them got into the space crack and disappeared in the end, on the Earth. Huge amounts of earth and rocks fell, like a rain of meteorites, the ground roared, and an earthquake broke out again. Many low hills that had been destroyed beyond recognition were completely turned into rubble this time. When the vibration of the ground slowly stopped, Lin Yu looked around, and the landscape of the entire area he saw had undergone huge amounts of changes, as if he had experienced the end of the world. There were many potholes in many places, and the file size was different. The cracks spread like spider webs, and there were still many places where flames burned and magma flowed. Lin Yu was shocked, and quickly searched around. At the last moment, Surta exploded from his death, triggering huge amounts of riots. Even the gravitational field of the Earth explosion star disappeared in the explosion. Lin Yu was a little worried. Surta's head was like two sharp horns. The crown will also shatter with the explosion, or be swallowed by chaotic space cracks. But fortunately, soon, in a magma lake, Lin Yu saw a large sharp corner protruding from the surface of the lake. After a lot of work, Lin Yu finally salvaged the Surta huge amounts of crown. Come up. It's okay. Although it's a little damaged, it still has plenty of energy, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Looking at the slightly broken crown in front of him, still exuding intense heat, Lin Yu sensed the strong energy unique to Surta in it, and he was overjoyed. After this great battle, it was finally time to harvest. After Surta's crown was taken out, Lin Yu found most of the broken dragon's head in the magma lake. This should be the hardest part of the fire dragon, which survived the explosion. The armor of thorns on his body shook, and he was very eager for Surta's bony and pointed crown. Lin Yu was not polite, and soon let the armor of thorns start to devour Surta's crown. The attention of the big forces, and Lin Yu, Surta's crown, has no way to take it away, but can only be swallowed on the spot, and now the only way is to hurry up. The armor of thorns has already been impatient, and began to devour Surta's crown ferociously as soon as it came into contact with it. This crown is the source and essence of Surta. Surta has existed for countless years, fighting all the way from a small Balrog, slowly rose in the world of flames, and eventually became the king of the flame demon. This crown not only represents his authority, but also is the source of Surta absorbing the condense of the flame world, which is of great help to the improvement of the armor of thorns. Lin Yu at the moment did not slowly enjoy the pleasure of the armor of thorns feeding back the warm current, but urged the armor of thorns to quickly devour the pure substance in the crown. Before completing the devouring and taking away the last piece of wreckage left by the fire dragon, in Lin Yu's opinion, the value of this thing is also immeasurable. Surta's crown shrunk rapidly under the engulfment of the armor of thorns. The mysterious substance that was so pure and terrifying was completely swallowed by the armor of thorns. The light of the flames flowed down, setting off Lin Yu's extraordinary elegance. Soon Lin Yu felt a strange warm current. The warm current fed back from the crown being swallowed was blazing hot, as if it could melt gold and iron, but this was just Lin Yu's feeling. The strange warm current flowed through Lin Yu's body, limbs and bones, just let his body continue to strengthen, and did not burn his body. Lin Yu's body is like a piece of rough jade, and the warm current is like a furnace, constantly polishing his body and spirit, allowing him to move towards a stronger life level. In the dark, Lin Yu saw a strange scene. He seemed to be in the magma. Countless flaming creatures were born, fought and died, and turned into the original source. After countless years, new flaming creatures were born and died again. When the picture faded away, Lin Yu came to his senses and absorbed Serta's source, which made him feel some mysterious scenes contained in the source. This kind of experience is very precious. After the huge rock surrounding Serta was shattered, Serta's figure had disappeared. Dr. Otto and others retreated during the earthquake. Seeing that everything had calmed down now, Dr. Otto ignored everyone's dissuasion and moved towards the center of the battlefield advances rapidly. Looking at the messy land around him, Dr. Otto drove several mechanical arms to support his body, walked through the weird cracks, and quickly approached the center of the battlefield. Soon, a trace of surprise flashed in Dr. Otto's eyes. He had already seen Lin Yu's figure. Just like when he devoured the artificial sun, a quaint armor emerged from Lin Yu's body, connected to the huge horned Serta crown. Pure energy is pouring into it in waves. Director, Dr. Otto shouted with surprise on his face. Lin Yu heard the words and looked at Dr. Otto. At the moment, the clothes on Dr. Otto's body were a little tattered, and there were burn marks in many places. It seems that the battle between Lin Yu and Serta caused others to suffer. Doctor, are you okay? Where are the others? Lin Yu smiled slightly, indicating that she was fine, and asked. We're all fine, Chairman. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Aren't you from Earth? Dr. Otto looked in surprise at Lin Yu, who had no scars on her body, and even her clothes were neat and tidy, and couldn't help asking curiously. Lin Yu shook his head and laughed. Strictly speaking, he is indeed not an Earthling in this world. I just awakened some abilities by accident, just like those superheroes. Don't you have any opinion on superheroes? Su Mu smiled slightly. No, how could it be? Hearing Lin Yu's half-ridiculous words, drive. Otto quickly shook his head to defend himself. Not only did he not have any prejudice or discrimination against Lin Yu's super ability, he was even a little close, because to some extent, he with the octopus mechanical claw is not unusual for ordinary people. Chairman, don't worry, I will never disclose to anyone what happened tonight. Seeing that Lin Yu was fine, Dr. Otto finally felt more at ease, and said to Lin Yu. With a slight smile, the crown in front of Lin Yu also shrunk rapidly. In the end, it was directly energized and completely turned into pure energy that was swallowed by the armor of thorns. After devouring Serta's original power for countless years, the upper limit of the thorn armor's defensive cover has been raised to 6,000, which is doubled compared to before. And his physical strength has also been strengthened to a terrifying height. Lin Yu's heart skipped a beat. Looking at a large piece of fire dragon skull in front of him, he grabbed it casually, not afraid of the blazing high temperature and burning flames above. Huge amounts of skull fragments were as light as nothing in his hands, and he grabbed them casually. With a casual glance, Lin Yu saw some changes in the icons in his mind. When he took a closer look, his face was overjoyed. The flame icon that was originally controlled by the flame had undergone a strange change, becoming a human figure covered in flames, and the ability represented by the icon is also different. Flame Giant Transformation. Control the ability of the flame, and can initiate transformation, transform into a flame giant. The body size and power depend on the energy value of the output. After seeing the introduction of ability, Lin Yu's heart was agitated. He didn't expect that after devouring Serta's crown, he could turn into a flame giant like Serta. As long as he enters enough energy value, he wants to become a towering giant like Serta. It is not difficult. Dr. Otto, let's go. The movement here will definitely attract the attention of interested people. I don't want to be stared at by the whole world yet. Dr. Otto watched as Lin Yu grabbed a huge dragon skull that was completely out of proportion to his own size, and with a single leap, he rushed tens of meters away. A trace of envy flashed in his eyes, and he quickly followed. The two figures disappeared soon on the broken battlefield. What Lin Yu didn't know was that when he was fighting Serta, a powerful existence in northern Texas was also alarmed. This is a man who looks to be about 50 years old, with silver hair, a suit and leather shoes, and a cane carved with a nightmare totem in his hand. The man looks gentle and elegant, like a gentleman old man, but in those seemingly calm eyes, there is a depth and darkness that is enough to scare the world. This person is none other than the Demon King of the Hell Plane, the incarnation of Mephisto walking in the world. He was originally using his power to confuse some powerful people on the border of Texas and develop his followers. Unexpectedly, when he was bewitching the believers, bursts of flames and dull loud noises suddenly came from the distant sky. Sensing the almost terrifying energy fluctuations in the sky, Mephistos's calm face showed obvious shock and disbelief. Is this the breath of Serta? How is it possible? Why is he here? Is he fighting someone else? Mephisto even wondered if his perception was wrong, but soon, the more violent energy fluctuations and the disordered gravitational field of the ground under his feet made him have to believe that in the distance, the Balrog that should have been huddled in the world of flames King Serta is really fighting to the death with a powerful existence. Without any hesitation, Mephisto turned into a cloud of black mist, disappeared in place in an instant, and rushed towards the battlefield. And the black mist that escaped before he left directly eroded the so-called believers who had surrendered to him into ashes in just a few seconds, without even making a scream. After the devastation of the battle between Lin Yu and Serta, the Kogas Mountains turned directly into hills. Between the ground and the mountains, there are all frightening cracks that go deep into the ground. The ground is full of scorching lava, and the air is filled with the suffocating scorching sulfur breath. In the sky, a dense mass of dark energy emerged out of thin air. Mephisto stepped out, gloomy, and looked around. Serta's breath disappeared. With that guy's temper, he definitely won't leave quietly after the victory. In other words, Serta didn't win, or even lost. When did such a tyrannical creature appear on Earth that it could rival Serta? After a brief analysis, Mephisto's face became more and more serious. While thinking, Mephisto turned into black aura and searched the entire battlefield. It's all the blood of Serta, even the original power has been scattered. After investigating the clues on the battlefield, Mephisto's face has become gloomy. One of the 9 kingdoms of God, the king of Muspelheim, the world of flames, even if the eternal fire is taken away by Odin of God's domain, it is by no means an easy existence. Even Mephisto himself is not fully sure to kill him. However, it is such a powerful existence, who was beaten to the ground by an unknown existence on Earth, and his body was completely scattered. This is definitely very bad news for Mephisto. He walks in the world and develops believers. Naturally, he has his plan. He originally thought that the human world was almost his back garden. Unexpectedly, the Earth has changed so much. In just 100 years, not only weapons with huge amounts of lethality were born, even plane-level powerhouses appeared. All this is beyond Mephisto's expectations. At this moment, the sound of da-da-da sounded, and the roar of the helicopter came. Soon, Mephisto saw the shadows of several helicopters coming from far and near, coming here. It seems that the Earth is much more complicated than I imagined, and I need to wake up my knight as soon as possible. On the battlefield full of magma and cracks, Mephisto frowned tightly, and the strong black magic energy on his body surged unscrupulously, and he said to himself. Afterwards, Mephisto snorted coldly, stopped the nightmare wand in his hand, and his whole body turned into black smoke and disappeared on the spot. The black aura slowly dissipated, leaving only the voice of Mephisto. After Mephisto left, several helicopters kept approaching the battlefield, and high-power cameras and various technological detection instruments fed back everything on the battlefield. Is this the gods fighting? The battle just now is over. What about that flame giant and that dragon? And the golden light group has also disappeared. Everyone looked down from the sky in horror. There were cracks tens of meters wide and bottomless, and lava lakes that were slowly cooling. There were huge potholes on the ground with a diameter of several kilometers. The massive shattered rocks all showed a horrific battle taking place here after the satellite footage faded. On the largest helicopter, SHIELD Director Nick Fury led several top SHIELD agents. Looking at the scene in front of him, he was speechless for a long time. The United States Shield Tricurve Headquarters. Director, when we arrived, there was no sign of the giant dragon and the Golden Light group in that area, and no other creatures were found. SHIELD's top agent, Natasha Romanoff, a 10th level agent known as Black Widow, searched the battlefield under Fury's order but ended up with no real gains. The battle was fierce, and it was fortunate that Serta's crown was basically intact, and the hardest piece of the fire dragon's skull was also taken away by Lin Yu. In 3 days, after a long search for these agents with various equipment, still nothing. The black man Nick Fury's face was serious. According to the news from Black Widow, the battle was too fierce. Except for the cooling magma and the devastated land, which was the huge rubble of Yu Wanjin, there were no useful clues at all. Director, through other channels, I got another message, which may be related to this incident. Natasha Romanoff took out a report with satellite images before the appearance of Fire Dragon and Flame Giant. Prior to this, Future Technology Corporation, there's some industry there, it's kind of like a laboratory. Future Technology. Hearing Natasha Romanoff's report, Nick Fury frowned and looked at the information compiled by Natasha Romanoff. As the government's most powerful intelligence agency, the information collected by SHIELD is quite comprehensive. Many secrets and various speculations about future technologies are among the intelligence. Looking at the information above, Nick Fury suddenly became interested in the many things that happened in future technology recently. Chairman Carl and his wife died unexpectedly, and Gellet took over. However, after a long time in the United States, Gellet transferred all shares in future technology to the couple's only son, Carl Lin Yu. Seemed to Fury to have something strange about such information. Natasha Romanoff, I have a mission for you. With a flash of light in his eyes, Fury has already made a decision. No matter whether this incident is related to future technology or not, he must figure it out. Chapter 31. Somewhere in the world of flames that is far away from the Earth, there are waves of fluctuations in the void. It seems that something is tearing apart the space. After a while, a small space crack emerges, and a few weak red lights are difficult to drill out, directly sinking into the huge amounts deep in the magma. It disappeared. Earth ants, one day, I will trample you under my feet and let you suffer from the eternal fire. A low, weak and hateful roar came from the magma and dissipated in the endless flames. On the top floor of the Future Science and Technology building, Wanda is wearing professional attire and is reporting the company's affairs to Lin Yu. Chairman, the company's stock has increased in value by 5% in the past month, which has exceeded our expectations. Your layoff plan is going well. Many inactive managers have been dismissed, and many outstanding newcomers have been promoted. Coming up, most of them are young people, very hardworking. This is a specific record of personnel promotion. Lin Yu took the list handed over by Wanda casually, and briefly looked through it. Many directors of the subsidiaries that were not profitable were fired, and new people were arranged to take over. With the support of Lin Yu, these new people made a lot of achievements. After taking measures to rectify the company, it has a completely new look. When she saw one of the reports, Lin Yu fixed her eyes and perked up a little. The previous Secretary General of the company was killed by a black man with a silver sword and turned into ashes. He was suspected of being a vampire. The new Secretary General, named Natasha Romanoff, had red hair and a graceful figure. Seeing the photo on the report, Lin Yu instantly recognized the new Secretary General named Natasha Romanoff. Isn't he the top agent Black Widow of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Wanda, what's the matter with this Secretary General? The former Secretary General was murdered some time ago. She died very strangely. It is said that her body was pierced with a silver dagger, and then she was on fire and turned into a pile of coke. The police investigated, but there was nothing progress. There are rumors that she is a vampire. That's why a new Secretary General was hired. Do you think there is any problem? If it is not suitable, we can reschedule. Wanda told Lin Yu what she knew. She grew up very fast, but in a short period of time, she was already fully familiar with all kinds of things in the company, and she was already able to take care of herself. Lin Yu entrusted her with many file-size matters in the company in terms of handling. It can be said that apart from Lin Yu, Wanda is the one with the most power in the company. Hearing Wanda talk about vampires and black men with silver weapons, Lin Yu's face moved slightly, and he already guessed in his heart that the death method of the former Secretary General was indeed similar to that of vampires. I read a plot of Marvel that I know, and the plot fits the image of this black murderer very well, named Blade Warrior. That's right, it's the Marvel world after all, and there are blade fighters and vampires, so it's not surprising. Lin Yu muttered in a low voice, thinking a lot. Chairman, what are you talking about? Listening to Lin Yu's words, Wanda was a little confused for a moment, not understanding what Lin Yu meant. Oh, it's nothing, I'll meet the new Secretary General sometime. Lin Yu smiled slightly, suppressed the doubts in her heart, and said to Wanda. Regarding Lin Yu's desire to meet the new Secretary General, Wanda felt a little apprehensive. Seeing that Lin Yu was so interested in her, Wanda even regretted letting such a beautiful woman become the Secretary General, but Wanda nodded anyway, no say more. I thought about it. There are several main development directions of the company now. The military industry is a pillar industry, and the transaction with the military is one of the company's main income. The old road was swallowed up by those hypocrites in the military. The aerospace industry also needs to increase investment and research. A new era is coming, and we need to be ahead of others. What is the name of the person in charge of the subsidiary that I talked to last time? His subsidiary is mainly engaged in the internet industry. I think the future market prospect of online games is huge, and we also need to pay attention to it. In addition, virtual technology can be pay attention to it, let the team develop it. This thing can not only be put in the game, but also can be used in many places. There are also some high-tech industries. Scientific research requires a lot of investment, and there may not be any benefits. I have Drive Otto in charge of this area. You can tell him that the mechanical tentacles he researched are controlled by brainwaves. It can go deeper, and the team has been developing nano-robot technology. This technology has not been born yet, although it is immature, but once it has results, it will have considerable economic benefits. Well, as for a series of industries such as pharmaceuticals, you can also pay a little attention to it, and you can handle it at your own discretion. Lin Yu spoke out about the company's future development direction in one breath, which surprised Wanda. Unexpectedly, Lin Yu is not only a formidable personal strength, but also a superman with business acumen. Do you think there is anything else that needs to be improved and supplemented? Lin Yu watched Wanda's small mouth slightly open, and couldn't help but smile. No, Chairman, your mind makes it hard for me to believe that you are so young. Lin Yu's arrangement is clear and organized, and Wanda admires her grasp of the overall situation. With a few simple words, the future direction of future technology has been clearly planned. Director, Natasha Romanoff has successfully entered the future technology. In Nick Fury's office, an agent said to Fury respectfully. Well, good, I believe in her ability. If there is something wrong with future technology, Natasha Romanoff will definitely find out. Now we just need to wait for the news. A look of satisfaction flashed across Fury's face. It was his instruction to arrange for Natasha Romanoff to enter future technology for monitoring and investigation. Once future technology is really related to the Giants' Coming event in Texas, they can obtain first-hand information. Director, the higher-ups sent someone down to see you. It's Level 10 authority. The communicator on Fury's desk rang, and the information that came out caused Fury's expression to change. In S.H.I.E.L.D., the levels are very strict, starting from the most elementary level, the first-level agent, to the highest level 10, and Nick Fury, as the director, has the highest authority of S.H.I.E.L.D. When he heard the 10th level of authority, Fury's face became serious. Information with this authority has almost involved major decisions. Soon, in a secret meeting room, Fury saw someone coming. This is a senior military official, who was about to approach the general. Director Nick Fury, I have been ordered to send a 10th level permission order from my superiors, and only you can open it. Someone came and handed Fury a box. Fury's face was serious. After checking layer by layer, the box finally opened with a click. In the dark room, a stereoscopic projection appeared. Director Nick Fury, long time no see. In the video, a middle-aged general with a military commander appeared, standing in place, calm and pretentious. General, what happened? When he saw this general, Fury's expression became even more solemn. This general's military rank is much higher than that of General Suo, the leader of the military department. He has made countless contributions to the country and is a hero in many people's minds. What happened in Texas this time made us all unexpected, and no one can guarantee that such a thing will not happen in New York or the White House next time." The general looked serious, and said, "So, after our discussion, we decided to restart the Imperial Army plan." "What, Nick?" Fury's complexion changed drastically when he heard the words of the Emperor's armament project, and he exclaimed in surprise. "General, hasn't this plan been permanently suspended? Why, you should know that this plan has brought us unimaginable losses." The words of the Imperial Army plan made Fury lose his composure, and his eyes were even a little worried. This kind of look appeared on the famous iron-blooded director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Obviously, the content of the Imperial Army plan is quite terrifying. The general ignored Fury's exclamation at all, but said coldly, "This is determined by research. In the face of unknown things, we need a stronger force to resist, otherwise, when a real disaster strikes, the casualties will be even more terrible." Quote, "General, but, no but," the general snorted coldly, interrupting Fury's words, "S.H.I.E.L.D. is the government's shield. The reason I approached you was to tell you to be prepared, not to ask for your consent." The invisible majesty exudes. The general's tone is unquestionable. Even Fury didn't say any more. S.H.I.E.L.D. is just the government's ear or a sharp knife in the government's hands. High-level decisions, even as the bureau chief, he can't control them. Director Nick Fury, this matter is a foregone conclusion. You don't have to worry about it, and this time we have also considered it carefully. This plan is not entirely contributed by the military. Speaking of this, a gleam flashed in the general's eyes. What's the meaning? Fury is a little unclear. So, isn't the military contributing? Are there other forces involved? There are so many unknown regions. Even if the military is willing to explore, it will not be completed in a short time, so we thought of cooperation. Now there are several giant companies that cooperate with the military. Their strength is quite strong. The regions are separated and handed over to them for exploration, although there will be losses for sure, but I believe that in the face of benefits, these companies will not refuse. The general told the secret. As long as the loss is not military power, it is definitely reasonable for other big forces to pay for their own interests. Fury remained silent. The higher-ups had already made a decision, and he could only obey, but at the moment, Fury regretted it a bit. The original plan of the Imperial Army was proposed by S.H.I.E.L.D. The establishment of S.H.I.E.L.D. was to deal with some forces beyond the understanding of ordinary people. Therefore, S.H.I.E.L.D. has spared no effort to explore many mysterious and special regions on the Earth. In the early stage of exploration, S.H.I.E.L.D. has indeed obtained unimaginable harvests, and there are even mysterious alien corpses. This discovery even increased S.H.I.E.L.D.'s determination to explore, and even proposed the Emperor Soldier Plan, which obtained a lot of amazing materials and created unparalleled soldiers. However, the tragedy that happened afterwards forced all this to be interrupted. The Emperor's army plan is in full swing, and many areas have been fully explored. However, in some terrible areas, S.H.I.E.L.D. has suffered unprecedented heavy losses. A large number of agents sent were wiped out, and some of them did not even have a clear picture. The huge creatures on Skull Island, the tens of meters long python in Borneo in the Amazon basin, the strange dragon chant on Dinosaur Island, and the mysterious Godzilla that once appeared in the Gulf of Japan, these places have ruined the lives of countless agents. Breakthroughs are hard to come by at work, and after suffering unimaginable losses, S.H.I.E.L.D. had to stop the program. But what I didn't expect was that this time the dragon and Serta came to the Earth, which put the government under a lot of pressure, and was questioned and maintained by various countries. Only then did the high-level officials make up their minds again to restart the Imperial Army plan, at any cost, to cope with possible future events. Unknown threat. I will send you the specific distribution list and matters. The Imperial Army plan does not need S.H.I.E.L.D. to contribute in the early stage, but you have to be prepared. Once you get something, S.H.I.E.L.D. needs to study and digest it as soon as possible. Besides us, there are other countries in these regions. He and the forces have been eyeing him all the time, do you understand? The general looked at Fu Rui's silence, which was considered a compromise, so he opened his mouth to reveal some details. General, I understand. I will start preparations as soon as possible to speed up the progress of the Emperor's army plan. Fury nodded. The three-dimensional image in front of him disappeared, the lights came on, and the person who came greeted Fury and left quickly. After a long time, Fury let out a long sigh. He could already foresee that the restart of the Emperor's army plan was destined to pay a heavy price. SHIELD has been notified and they will be ready. In a secret military base in California, in a well-guarded conference room, a dozen people are sitting around a round table and having a meeting, but if you look closely, you can see that many figures are all holographic images, not real person. What do you guys think? The person who asked the question was the general who communicated with Fury not long ago. His status was obviously higher among the crowd. As soon as the words came out, the field suddenly fell into silence. General, I don't think the Emperor's army plan is necessarily feasible. Even if you pay a lot, no one will know what the harvest will be until there is no result. I'm afraid this is what everyone thinks. It took a while before someone spoke. The logo on his shoulder was the rank of Lieutenant General. Do you think so too? The general looked around at the crowd, but he had already got the answer from many people's faces. Then what do you think we should do in a situation like the Texas incident? General, I don't think there is any problem with the resumption of the Imperial Army plan, but the funds and manpower needed to carry out this plan are astronomical. Even if it can be harvested, military expenditures are still a big problem. Before that, my main responsibility was to cooperate with various industrial groups. I think that if we can cooperate more closely with various industrial groups, we can not only speed up the progress of the Imperial Army plan, but also make up for the huge hole in military expenditure. The person who spoke was none other than General Suo, who once wanted to control Osborne's industry and failed. In his opinion, these companies serve them, so he will be furious when Osborne's top management changes, which is beyond his control. Hearing General Suo's words, everyone's face was awe-inspiring. Many people in the military knew how General Suo acted. This man had a strong desire to control. He secretly controlled many companies that cooperated with the military. Seeing that no one spoke, everyone was noncommittal. General Suo snorted coldly in his heart and cursed everyone secretly. If he hadn't spent a lot of effort to obtain benefits through some of the companies he controlled, it would be a question of whether the army under these people could support them now. After Osborne had a problem, General Suo simply stopped doing things and set his sights on the military industry giant, Stark Industries. General Suo has already negotiated with Obadi, a member of the board of directors of Osborne. After a lot of bargaining, the two old foxes have their own thoughts before finalizing the specific plan. At the moment, Tony in Game Life doesn't know yet. Uncle Dai is ready to sell him for his own benefit. The Imperial Army project is just a beautiful fantasy of S.H.I.E.L.D. Even if it is restarted now, how long will it take to bear fruit? Just then, a voice sounded, attracting everyone's attention. Instead of investing money in projects that don't look for margins, why not use it to carry out our own super soldier project? I told you a long time ago that as long as the investment is increased, the research on gamma rays will definitely make progress. Quote. The person who spoke was none other than the Hulk's old father-in-law in the movie, Thunderbolt, General Ross. General Ross, the super soldier plan you mentioned is also worthy of careful consideration. After the meeting, I will report to my superiors to see if I can apply for part of the military expenses. If the super soldier plan can be successful, it might be a way to deal with special circumstances. The general spoke and took General Ross's words, which made Ross look happy. The general's voice is very important. If he is willing to help, the super soldier project can be carried out smoothly. Everyone was stunned. The general's attitude had implicitly reflected the nervousness of higher-level decision-makers after the Flame Giant incident, and it seemed that they took this incident very seriously. Okay everyone, now that it has been decided to restart the Emperor Army plan, you don't have to complain. Once there is any progress, everyone will benefit. Finally the general opened his mouth, causing everyone to calm down, and discussed some details before ending. Time flies, and it has been a month since the sudden change in Texas. At the end of the day, there is still no concrete conclusion. However, this has already formed a storm, which has made many high-level officials uneasy. However, Lin Yu got good news. Chairman, our company's scientific research team has made an amazing breakthrough in nano-robot technology. Commander informed Lin Yu of all the major events that happened in the company, which surprised Lin Yu, and invested heavily in the research of nano-robot technology. Lin Yu was not only for the benefit of the company, but also had her own considerations. Lin Yu's idea also came from an accidental inspiration. He once watched a sci-fi movie, Superhero 6. In the robot war in the movie, there was a special robot, which left a deep impression on Lin Yu. In the movie, there was a powerful robot composed of countless small solid magnetic metals. Through the neural sensing system, this robot can be changed and combined at will under the user's ideas, and spliced into any shape, such as a building, a truck, etc., a ship, or a piece of armor, a giant blade. The combination robot in the movie is amazing, but Lin Yu's idea is even more bold, that is, to reduce each unit of this combination robot to the level of dust particles or even nanometer level. But now, nanotechnology is no longer something out of reach. You must know that this is the Marvel world, where various black technologies emerge endlessly. Nano-robot technology is not out of reach. What Lin Yu wants to do is to completely perfect this technology. Coupled with spiritual remote sensing technology, it will definitely be an epic-making work by then. Even, Lin Yu has made such an idea, using vibranium to build such a group of nano-robots, which will not be destroyed, unpredictable, invisible, and powerful in attack. It is definitely a big killer. It's just that this research requires countless painstaking efforts and a lot of time, and Lin Yu didn't expect to get something soon after the investment, but Commanda's report brought him a pleasant surprise. Looking at a report submitted by Commanda, Lin Yu felt a little excited. According to the content of the report, Lin Yu already knew that most of the credit for the breakthrough in nanotechnology research was due to a young man in the team, woman. Is that her? Yes, Chairman, her name is Oshika, Pei Oshika. It is precisely because of her recruitment that the scientific research team can make such great progress in a short period of time. Mentioning this woman, Commanda also had a hint of admiration on her face. Lin Yu is also interested. His computer is connected to all systems and databases of future technology, and he can consult all the information in it at will. Lin Yu opened Oshika's information casually, and the moment she saw the photo in it, her eyes changed slightly, and a sense of familiarity emerged spontaneously. It turned out to be her. The memory ebbs and flows like a tide. After being strengthened by the warm current fed back by the armor of thorns many times, Lin Yu is not only physically strong to an inhuman level, but his spirit has also been greatly strengthened. Seeing the so-called Oxy the moment the photo was snapped, Lin Yu recognized the woman in the photo, who was none other than the Snake Girl from the movie Wolverine 2. Lin Yu clearly recalled that in the movie, the dying Yoshida Ichiro called the Snake Girl Dr. Gray, and his real name should be Ophelia Gray. However, the Snake Girl in the photo is obviously much younger and more beautiful than Lin Yu's image. According to Lin Yu's guess, the story of the Snake Girl in Wolverine should not have happened yet. How did she come to future technology? Are you still involved in nanorobot research? This was the doubt in Lin Yu's mind, but Lin Yu didn't say it out. Well, very good, when the research on nanorobots comes to an end, I will reward them. Lin Yu had a smile on his face, no matter why the Snake Girl Ophelia appeared in his company, but since he helped him perfect the research on nanorobots, he will not treat him badly. After Lin Yu planned the future development direction of technology, the company has a lot of affairs, many things Wanda and Commanda can't make decisions without authorization, these must be made by Lin Yu himself. Brother Lin, haven't you finished your work yet? It's already late. Wanda's voice alarmed Lin Yu. He had been concentrating on the matter at hand, and before he knew it, night had fallen. There are a lot of things in the company these 2 days, and I still have some things to do. Wanda, you can go back first, don't wait for me. Lin Yu smiled slightly and told Wanda to go back to rest early. Wanda hesitated to speak, but nodded and left the company. Lin Yu continued to bury her head in processing the things in her hands, and by the time the processing was almost done, the night had already darkened. Busy people age quickly, it seems that I need to find a few more people to help me in the future. Lin Yu neck, talking to himself. Out of curiosity, Lin Yu wanted to see if there were any hardworking employees like him in the company, so he clicked on the building monitoring on the computer. Among the crowded video screens, most of them were empty, which made Lin Yu slightly disappointed. It seems that there is no employee as hardworking as me. With a secret sigh, Lin Yu was about to turn off the computer and leave, but in a certain surveillance screen, a moving figure attracted Lin Yu's idea, and Lin Yu was immediately interested. You can see everything that happens on the surveillance screen. Ophelia. After seeing the tall figure in the picture, Lin Yu was taken aback. It was Ophelia who participated in the research of nanorobots and made amazing progress. Why is Snake still in the company so late? In the picture, Ophelia is wearing a researcher's overalls, and she is still concentrating on her research, without realizing that her every move is clearly seen by Lin Yu through the monitoring. Ophelia was fiddling with various instruments in the research room, frowning from time to time, as if she had encountered some problem, lost in thought, and then continued to study with her brows stretched. Lin Yu had a feeling that this woman didn't seem to be as cruel as in the movie, killing people without blinking an eye. The change in her personality is probably due to some unavoidable difficulties. Seeing that Ophelia has been concentrating on research, Lin Yu has been paying attention for a long time and slowly suppressed his thoughts. Since he is an employee of his company, it is not too late to get in touch with her when the research is almost completed. Turning off the computer, Lin Yu took the elevator all the way to the ground floor of the building, and was about to leave, but just as she walked out of the building, Lin Yu frowned. Now Lin Yu is not an ordinary person, his perception is quite keen. When he left the company, he has already clearly noticed that there are people hiding in the dark around the company. In these hidden people, Lin Yu perceives strange energy fluctuations. These people are not ordinary people. Even, Lin Yu sensed the murderous intent. Could it be that someone wants to do something to himself? This idea popped up in Lin Yu's mind instantly. Thinking of this, a cruel smile curled up on the corner of Lin Yu's mouth. No matter who it is, if they want to attack him, they must have the consciousness of being killed. The pace remained the same. Lin Yu continued to walk towards the shadow. If these people were really targeting him, he would definitely explode when he passed by, and just kill them all. But what made Lin Yu a little strange was that he walked through a few perceptions to the position where someone was ambushing, but he was not attacked by any. "Aren't you ambushing me?" Lin Yu was a little puzzled. "It's so late, ambushing at the entrance of the future company building, besides targeting me, they will, wait." Snake. Lin Yu's mind instantly remembered the tall figure who was concentrating on research in the laboratory. These figures lurking in the dark never activated. Lin Yu kept his speed unchanged, pretending not to know, walked quietly as usual, and soon disappeared from the sight of the people lurking in the dark. It's just that Lin Yu didn't leave. No matter what, Ophelia is an employee of his company. If it's true to his guess that these people came for Ophelia, he wouldn't stand idly by. Sitting quietly in the car, Lin Yu focused on the entrance of the Future Science and Technology building, and waited quietly for Ophelia to appear like the others who were lying in ambush. Not long after, the gate of the Future Science and Technology building slowly clocked in, and a graceful figure emerged. Ophelia from at the moment had already changed into a researcher's overalls and put on a bright red skirt, which flattered her tall and plump body. It is completely highlighted, and when walking, it can exude great charm unconsciously. At the moments Ophelia looks a little tired. Recently, she has devoted herself to the research of nanorobots for her own purpose. Not only has the entire scientific research team made amazing progress, but her own research is about to succeed. Ophelia, there was excitement and worry in Leah's eyes. What she needs most now is time. If she is exposed before the research is completed, she may be in crisis. Ophelia, who was thinking about something in her head, was obviously a little distracted, and walked towards the place where someone was ambushing in the dark without noticing. Lin Yu in the distance watched this scene clearly, and even Lin Yu couldn't help but stand up for her. Ophelia sweated. She was so slow when the crisis came, she would definitely suffer a lot. Quack. Just when Ophelia passed the first ambush point, a strange cry sounded, like the cry of a frog, and also like the shrill cry of an old crow. A circle of strange transparent ripples emerged, spread rapidly, and came towards Ophelia's position, and passed by Ophelia's side in an instant, and Ophelia's face at the moment changed drastically. The ripples are very strange, seemingly transparent, but Ophelia, who is deeply trapped in it, feels as if she is in a deep mud, and it becomes extremely difficult to move. At the moment, another wave of invisible waves formed, composed of pure spiritual power, and struck towards Ophelia, causing an impact on her brain, causing Ophelia's struggling body to struggle even more. Shaking, almost fainting. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Ophelia suffered a mental shock and fell into a trance. The plants around her were dancing strangely. The 4 vines shot towards Ophelia's body at high speed, and they were about to wrap around her limbs in a blink of an eye. Fortunately, as a mutant, Ophelia originally did not take it easy. Although these attacks were continuous and almost formed a killing round, her trance only lasted for a short moment, and she wanted to control herself when she saw the lacing the cane. Ophelia moved her fingers with difficulty, and an injection appeared in her hand instantly, and Ophelia stuck the injection on her wrist without any hesitation. The medicinal liquid in the injection was floating with light, which seemed very strange. Just after it was injected into the body, Ophelia let out a muffled groan. The strong aura rose, and with Ophelia's muffled groan, Ophelia's aura instantly soared, and when she twisted violently, she broke free from the ripples and formed a bondage, avoided the vine by a tiny bit, and then stepped back instantly tens of meters. Ophelia's eyes were cold and angry. At the moment just now, she almost fell asleep. At the moment, her body was tense, and she stared coldly at the 6 figures that appeared in the dark. A wave of raids failed, and all the people in ambush had appeared. Surround Ophelia, making her look very serious. How come it came so fast? My research is only a little bit close. Ophelia sighed softly, with some regret in her eyes. Her research was to deal with the mutants who wanted to ambush her, but she didn't expect to be discovered by these people again before the research was completed. Not bad, the little snake is getting more and more powerful. Without any precautions, it can even evade our attack. It seems that if you give you more time to grow, I'm afraid you will really become the scourge of the organization in the future. The speaker's face was a bit dark, hidden in the darkness, and he or she could not be seen clearly, and his or her voice was also weird, quite neutral, and the specific gender could not be discerned. Ophelia frowned, obviously a little apprehensive towards the speaker. Linyu perception not far away clearly knew that the person who spoke just now was the mutant who launched a mental shock and wanted to stun Ophelia. What's the point? I've said it before, it's better to do it directly. The 6 of us are together, where is she going? Little snake, but I'm happy to have some fun with you before you die, what do you think? A big man with a thick back and a waist, even with long mane on his neck, has a strange figure. If you look closely, his lower body looks like a horse, with 4 feet, no, 4 hooves. Ophelia's face was cold, and only a cloud of green venom with a strong fishy smell was the answer to the big man. When Ophelia slammed it with all his strength, the venom spread rapidly and turned into a thick green poisonous mist. This is Ophelia. Ya's angry blow was extremely fast and covered a large area, almost covering the 2 or 3 people in front of Ophelia. Although that experiment was a bit short, my poison is different. No one thought that under the siege of 6 people, Ophelia would dare to counterattack unexpectedly. The 3 people in front hurriedly dodged in embarrassment. The poisonous mist was opened. But the person hidden in the shadows who was good at mental impact was not so fast. Although he dodged, a small cloud of green mist was still on his back. There was a squeak, followed by a grotesque scream. The poisonous mist formed by the venom was not only highly toxic, but also highly corrosive. After being infected by this unmasculine mutant, he could only suffer in pain on the ground. Tumbling, the green also spread rapidly on his body. Ah, help me, save me, ah. How is it possible? When did her poison become so terrible? 2 of the 3 who escaped the poisonous fog watched the crazily rolling on the ground. Mutant, who was obviously in extreme pain, had a trace of fright flashing across his face. He had truly seen Ophelia's poison, which made them terrified. I remember the last time I met Ophelia, her poison was not that scary. With one blow, Ophelia opened her mouth in a cold voice. Without stopping at all, she rushed directly into the cloud of poisonous mist that she had released, waved her palm, a large cloud of poison appeared, and the poisonous mist also spread, causing several people to panic. Back quickly, for fear of touching the slightest brush. Just when a few people thought that Ophelia would attack brazenly and had already made a defensive posture, the snake girl turned her head, rushed out of the encirclement, and fled quickly. Stop, I'm going to kill you. They didn't expect that Ophelia would turn around in an instant and rush out of the encirclement after showing a desperate posture. This change caught them by surprise, but soon they let out angry expressions. Shout out, the mutant ability is fully activated. Strange ripples flowed in circles, spreading towards Ophelia in waves, and on the way Ophelia escaped, the ground shook in the earth and rocks shattered, causing Ophelia to suffer a lot when running. Influence. Strange plants covered with thorns rose up from the cracked soil and rocks, twisted wildly, and the vines swept across, sweeping towards Ophelia. In the rear, the centaur mutant was extremely fast, and rushed behind Ophelia in a blink of an eye, less than 5 meters away. The hooves were too high, and the centaur mutant neighed like a real horse. On the raised hooves, there was a yellowish halo, and it stomped heavily in the direction of Ophelia. Boom! Under the powerful and unparalleled force, the ground suddenly cracked, and a crack became bigger and bigger, approaching Ophelia. The road ahead was blocked, and there were chasing soldiers. Ophelia was already in trouble again. The potion she used just now could temporarily burst her potential, but it only lasted for a short while. Now she was surrounded by several people from rage again. Ophelia, a look of despair flashed in Ya's eyes. Facing the strange attacks of several people, Ophelia had no room to dodge, and his toxin had no effect on these physical attacks at all. Brush. On Ophelia's smooth arm, it was punctured by the thorns of the vines, bringing a touch of bright red, and the layers of ripples had completely restricted her body. Even though she was struggling desperately, her speed was still getting slower and slower. And the shockwave launched by the centaur mutant had already arrived in front of him, and the powerful force formed a strong wind, blowing Ophelia's golden curly hair, revealing her somewhat pale pretty face. This time, several powerful mutants of ability are prepared. The mutant who was attacked by the toxin just now has turned into a green corpse, so they dare not approach Ophelia's toxin, but choose to use it directly from a safe distance. Attack! Centaur mutant saw that the shockwave he issued was already approaching Ophelia, with a cruel smile on his face. Under his shockwave, everything would be destroyed, let alone Ophelia's flesh and blood. Just when all the chasers thought they were sure of winning, even Ophelia fell into despair. Suddenly, only a coax was heard. Before the shockwave, a burst of golden light was suddenly diffused, colliding with the shockwave, and the two collided violently, lifting up a thick layer of earth and stone on the ground, and the hard concrete ground was directly shattered, unable to withstand this collision. What? Seeing the golden light disperse, Ophelia was safe and sound, surrounded by clusters of scattered golden light. Everyone was shocked. Who are you? At the moment, in front of Ophelia, there was an extra figure, a handsome and tall man in a well-tailored suit, none other than Lin Yu. Seeing that Ophelia was in a desperate situation, Lin Yu did not have any hesitation, and launched it with all her strength, directly crossed a distance of hundreds of meters, and appeared in front of Ophelia. Encirclement attack. Director. Ophelia was already in despair, but after Jin Guanghe exploded, seeing Lin Yu appearing in front of her, she suddenly exclaimed. At the gate of my company, embarrassing my employees, are you too arrogant? Standing in front of Ophelia, Lin Yu looked spotless, and said with a slight smile, but there was a palpitating danger in his voice. Chairman, are you Carl Lin Yu, the chairman of Future Technology? The attack was broken, and the remaining nameless mutants all surrounded them with murderous intent on their faces. Hearing Ophelia's exclamation, one of them spoke in confusion. Lin Yu was noncommittal, pouted. You need to give me an explanation, otherwise, you don't have to leave today. Hearing Lin Yu's words, a trace of anger flashed across their faces. When can a rich second generation shout in front of them? What do you think you are? You dare to meddle in our business? I advise you to get out, otherwise, the news of the death of the chairman of Future Technology will appear on the headlines of major newspapers tomorrow. The mutant woman who controlled the plants had an ugly face, and a large number of weird plants burst out of the ground and covered the surroundings. He doesn't need to get lost. I think he used the ability just now, and it should be a mutant. If this kind of person is brought back, he can study it carefully. Maybe we will be rewarded. The centaur mutant had a ruthless look on his face, looking at Lin Yu like a dead man. The reason they caught Ophelia was because the organization took a fancy to her ability and brains. Chairman, go away. We are not rivals. Ophelia had already recovered from the surprise just now, and looked at the 5 people approaching step by step. Her eyes were a little anxious, she didn't want Lin Yu to die because of her. Lin Yu was taken aback, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. Just relying on these few bedbugs, you also want to deal with me? Don't worry, since I have encountered them, I will help you take care of them. Lin Yu's words were unceremonious, and he described the 5 people as bedbugs, which made several people look ugly. They couldn't stand it anymore, and launched attacks one after another. One of the thin men hadn't attacked just now, but just formed a siege. At the moment there were also strange changes in his body. In Lin Yu's somewhat surprised eyes, the body of this thin-looking man swelled up like a puffed ball. 2 meters tall, the muscles on his body were tangled, shining with a metallic luster, as hard as lumps of iron. The man clenched his fists tightly and collided against his chest, making a sound like iron striking, showing the strength of his body. "I'll take your broken body back with you." The powerful man's voice became a lot deeper, and every step was quite heavy, like an iron pillar hitting the ground, rushing towards Lin Yu at a high speed. The muscular man with flashing metallic luster jumped up suddenly, and punched Lin Yu heavily. The unparalleled strength created a strong wind, and the expression of Ophelia standing behind Lin Yu changed in shock. With a slight smile, facing the crazy muscle monster attacking, Lin Yu was not afraid at all, facing the steel-like muscle monster with a punch. After the continuous strengthening of the armor of thorns, his physical fitness has become unbelievably strong. With a single punch, at least hundreds of tons of strength, this mutant dares to fight him. It is really life or death. The fists of the two collided in midair, and the powerful force overflowed in an instant, causing the air to tremble. Boom! Crack! The muscular man's face changed, and there was a strange sound of 2 fists clashing, followed by the muscular man's scream of pain. In the blow just now, Lin Yu didn't show any mercy. The strength of his body exploded completely. The berserk force acted on the fist of the muscular man, gleaming with metallic luster, directly crushing the bones of his arm completely. The muscular man was thrown into the air, fell heavily to the ground, kept rolling and howling. His arm was hanging limply on his shoulder. The distorted shape was very strange. Blood gushed out from the large and small wounds on the arm, and his fist has been completely shattered, turning into a pile of flesh and blood. Seeing this scene, not only the 4 approaching mutants turned pale with shock, but even Ophelia showed disbelief. The muscular man's abilities are obviously strength and physical strength, which can be seen from the metallic luster on his body, but at the moment was blasted by Lin Yu's flesh and blood punch. It is simply unimaginable. No matter how much you jump around, bedbugs are still bedbugs, vulnerable. Lin Yu withdrew his fist casually, with a look of disdain on his face. With only the strength of his body, he was able to completely crush mutant, who was good at strength, and let him have a general understanding of his body. "Go up together, or you won't have a chance." Lin Yu's indifferent voice sounded, causing the shocked people to react. They looked at each other, and there was a sinister look in their eyes. Facing the mighty Lin Yu, if they didn't try their best, they would probably be in danger today. "Do it." The violent vines grew crazily again, completely surrounding Lin Yu, and the original spikes grew again, looking sharp and terrifying, with blue lights flashing on them, and it was highly poisonous at first glance. In addition, there was a terrifying giant mouth on the weird plant. It opened up like a piranha, and the one facing Lin Yu just bit off it with one bite. The centaur mutant and the other 3 also launched an attack, using their most powerful strength to launch an attack. The golden mist changed, instantly forming a defensive light, and all the attacks fell on the mask without even a single ripple. Lin Yu watched these people desperately with cold eyes, without the slightest turmoil in his heart. The strongest attack of these mutants is only a few hundred. In his eyes, it is too far behind. With a thought in his heart, Lin Yu thought that after devouring the crown of Serta, he hadn't used the ability of flames yet, and now that he was surrounded by these annoying plants, he just had a chance to try his hand. Boom! The flame icon in Lin Yu's brain was shining, and the huge energy value was output. The raging flame rose outside the golden mask. The high temperature was so intense that the flame instantly turned golden, and all the plants wrapped in the protective cover were burned to charcoal in an instant. Directly turned into fly ash, and then dissipated. The flames spread all the way, and instantly rushed to the woman who controlled the plants. A look of horror flashed in the woman's eyes, and before she had time to react, the golden flame had already climbed onto her body, enveloping her whole body. Ah! The scream stopped abruptly, and after the flames passed, the figure of the woman had disappeared. Compared with those weird plants, there was not even fly ash left. Not just the woman, the golden flames engulfed the other 3 under Lin Yu's control. Seeing the end of the woman, the eyes of the 3 of them were tearing apart. They couldn't muster the slightest determination to resist, and they screamed and wanted to flee. The spread of circles of ripples is more complicated than before. trying to delay the spread of the flames, but all this is in vain. The flames ignore all the ripples and vaporize one person again. The other person was even more unbearable. His ability didn't have any resistance to the flames, and disappeared immediately. The centaur mutant is the fastest among them. When he saw the woman who controlled the plants die, he had already reacted, and fled quickly. However, he was horrified to find that no matter how he escaped, there was a powerful force. The traction force acts on oneself, allowing oneself to be pulled back to the original place. After a desperate cry, the centaur mutant disappeared. So far, the 6 mutants who besieged Ophelia were defeated. 1 was poisoned to death by Ophelia, and the 4 were directly vaporized. On the ground, there was only a muscular man bleeding profusely and howling. The battle ended in the blink of an eye, and Ophelia stood where she was, staring blankly at all this, and didn't come back to her senses for a long time. As my employee, and I'm still working overtime so late, if I'm in trouble, I should take action. But now, I want to ask, who are you? Lin Yu's voice sounded, and the golden energy mask slowly dissipated, turning into a golden mist, entering Lin Yu's body, awakening the stunned Ophelia. Ophelia looked at Lin Yu with strange eyes, and lowered her head. Chairman, I was hunted down by them because of my identity as a mutant. I came to future technology for absolutely no other purpose. Facing Lin Yu, the chairman, and also the powerful chairman of ability, Ophelia lowered her head, and said slowly with an aggrieved look. However, it sounds like a cover-up. Lin Yu felt amused in her heart, but she didn't show it on her face. I've seen your research. Do you want to develop a nanorobot that inhibits mutant ability? Lin Yu's words sounded like a bolt from the blue, directly in Ophelia's mind. Lin Yu revealed her purpose of entering the future technology. Ophelia has never told anyone about this secret. She thinks that it will never be known. Your name in the company is Pei Oshika. If I'm not mistaken, your real name should be Ophelia Gray, right? Looking at the shocked Ophelia, Lin Yu continued to speak and said another thing. Ophelia opened her mouth slightly, opened her beautiful eyes, and stared fixedly at Lin Yu. Lin Yu's handsome face was full of confidence. Although she was asking her, she obviously knew everything. How do you know? After a while, Ophelia spoke. Her voice had calmed down, but her heart was still turbulent. Her secret was invisible in front of Lin Yu, which made her confused. Don't worry, I have no malice towards you, but I want to know why these people hunted you down. Ophelia was conflicted. She really didn't know how to deal with the sudden appearance of Lin Yu. After repeated hesitation, seeing the smile on Lin Yu's face, Ophelia also slowly let go of her guard, adjusted her mood, and then began to tell the whole story. You're right, my name is Pei Oshika. This name is just to cover up my identity, but now it seems that it doesn't make any sense anymore. They finally found me. Ophelia felt that since her identity had been exposed, she might not be able to tolerate her in future technology, and she would continue to be caught in an endless hunt. She would slowly open up to the chairman in front of her who saved her life. Open heart. The people who hunted me down belong to a mysterious mutant organization. After my ability awakening, they found me and felt that my ability would be of great help to them. But I don't want to get involved in those struggles. I just want to live my own life quietly. I don't want to have this kind of ability beyond ordinary people, so I rejected them. Extreme hatred and pain appeared in Ophelia's eyes, and she fell into the memories of the past. Then, they killed all my relatives and ruined everything I was fond of. They blamed a gangster organization and pretended to recruit me, but their poor acting skills only deepened my endless hatred. I ran away, waiting for an opportunity in the dark to take revenge, and they have been hunting me. After that, I embarked on the road of revenge, but their organization is too powerful, and I am weak. Not their opponents. Sometimes, I really hate myself for not being strong enough. When mentioning the painful experience that happened, Ophelia couldn't hide the hatred in her eyes, and there was a hint of helplessness in her tone. I have been doing research and want to develop a nano-robot that can suppress the mutant ability, so I joined the future technology, but I didn't expect the pursuit to come so fast, and my research was almost successful. Ophelia talked about her experience, with tears in her eyes, and she was about to cry. Lin Yu's heart moved slightly. The power of hatred is really powerful. Ophelia has researched such a remarkable thing by herself. Do you want revenge? Looking into Ophelia's eyes of grief and hatred, Lin Yu said, as long as you surrender to me, I can give you everything, including revenge. Ophelia was taken aback, thinking of the terrifying strength that Lin Yu showed just now. A slight rippling appeared in her heart. Lin Yu is willing to help her. If you can really avenge me, I would. Without thinking too much, Lin Yu has already shown the strength that shocked Ophelia. If she is really willing to help her get revenge, what is the point of surrendering? Very good. Anyway, there is nothing to do tonight, so I will take you to collect some interest. Lin Yu smiled slightly, and said to Ophelia. Before Ophelia could react, Lin Yu waved his hand casually, and a strong gravitational force surged out. Lying on the ground covered in blood, the mutant man with a severed arm who kept wailing, he flew up out of thin air, flew towards Lin Yu, fell heavily at Lin Yu's feet, and let out another scream. Don't kill me. Please, don't kill me. At the moment, the only surviving mutant man was already scared out of his wits, and could only keep begging, hoping that Lin Yu could spare his life. Tell me everything you know. Where is your organization's stronghold? Maybe I can think about it. This man was deliberately left alive by Lin Yu in order to get some news from him. Does it mean that if I tell the stronghold of the organization, you can let me go? The mutant man resisted the pain and opened his mouth, looking at Lin Yu with a pleading face. The companion beside him was killed by Lin Yu in an instant. In his eyes, Lin Yu was already a demonic existence. Now he is willing to agree to all Lin Yu's requests, only wanted Lin Yu to spare her life. HMPH. Lin Yu's face turned cold, and his murderous aura suddenly rose. In front of me, you have no room to bargain with me. Yes, I can take you there. The man's complexion changed drastically. He didn't dare to say more. He got up by force, and stood in front of Lin Yu. Lead the way. No nonsense, Lin Yu ordered directly. The man didn't dare to say more, endured the pain, and nodded submissively. Only then did Ophelia realize that Lin Yu is powerful, but it is a bit unrealistic to choose a stronghold by herself. Although Ophelia has never joined that organization, through the mutants chasing and killing her, she already understood that the power of this organization is quite terrifying. Chairman, do you really want to go? Ophelia has some hesitation openings. Don't you want revenge? Lin Yu said, let's go. Perhaps, I can wait until my research is completed, and then the confidence will be much greater. Ophelia said that she was really worried. No, it's just dealing with a few bedbugs, it doesn't need to be so troublesome. Bedbugs. Ophelia looked at Lin Yu in front of her, who looked like a prince, and didn't know what to say for a while. She felt that she had been a little confused since she was rescued, but Lin Yu's strong self-confidence infected Ophelia. She was a little unspeakably moved, nodded, and followed Lin Yu. Lin Yu's luxury car sped along the boulevard, and soon left the urban area. Along the way, the injured mutant man confessed everything he knew. It turned out that he was just a low-level member of the organization, and his knowledge was limited. The place he took Lin Yu and Ophelia to now was not the organization headquarters, but a branch stronghold. My lord, I also had to sacrifice my life because of the threat of the organization. The mutant man's face was very pale. Because of his strong physique, the blood on his shoulder had stopped, but this arm is probably completely useless. Lin Yu talked a lot before asking, and kept complaining. I hope Lin Yu can spare his life. If you want to survive, it depends on your performance. If you dare to deceive me, Don't dare, my lord, I'm telling the truth, we're here. Lin Yu's luxury car stopped in front of a low building. According to the mutant man, this is a casino, and their stronghold is in the middle of the casino, which is very secretive and difficult for outsiders to detect. Entering the casino, the pungent smell of bad wine is strong, mixed with the strong smell of smoke and various perfumes, which makes Lin Yu frown. Many scantily dressed women are walking around in the casino, watching. In addition to the casino, there should be other things here. Ophelia did not show any discomfort. For many years, she had suffered all kinds of hardships in order to avoid hunting and revenge. The three of Lin Yu entered the casino, and they attracted the attention of many people. Whether it was the handsome and well-dressed Lin Yu, or the hot and beautiful Ophelia next to Lin Yu, they all attracted the attention of many people. Who is this person? Such a rich person will come to this kind of place. What's wrong with this kind of place? Handsome guy, are you interested in having a drink together? Many women with scantily dressed clothes who think they are pretty are saying hello to Lin Yu. Even if they are not greedy for Lin Yu's money, it is a wonderful thing to be able to make memories with someone like Lin Yu. It's just that everyone was disappointed. Lin Yu's eyes never stayed on these vulgar fans for a second from the beginning to the end, because they usually support superstars or young models. Lin Yu's taste is already quite tricky. Most of the gazes staring at Ophelia's body were hot, almost wanting to penetrate Ophelia's clothes. Little girl, you look good, don't you? Stay with me tonight, I'm rich. The three of Lin Yu walked all the way towards the depths of the casino, but they were stopped by a bald man halfway, and there were 3 or 5 people following behind the man. Roll. Lin Yu doesn't have a good face, molesting Ophelia in front of him, it's just too condescending to him. The bald man's expression changed, and Lin Yu scolded him mercilessly, making him furious. Boy, do you know who I am? Don't think it's enough to have a few bad money. Boom. Lin Yu didn't talk nonsense, and directly imprinted heavily on the bald man's body. In an instant, the bald man's body flew into the air, and with the younger brothers behind him, he turned into a rolling gourd, knocking many tables and chairs into the air. He fell heavily on the ground, covered in blood, and passed out without even screaming. There was a lot of commotion in the casino. The big bald man is a big boss here, and he has a lot of power, but he was lucky to not die after provoking Lin Yu. Many people have seen Lin Yu's methods, and the big bald man is still alive lying on the ground as the best criminal record, and no one dares to do it at the moment. Dirty my shoes. Lin Yu ignored the unconscious people, and under the guidance of the mutant man, he quickly passed through the chaotic gambling pool and came to a secluded place. Then the mutant man opened some mechanism in the secret place. A thick iron door opened, and a downward path appeared. Lin Yu could already perceive that there was a strong energy fluctuation below, but he didn't have any fear. Let's go. Seeing some hesitation on the mutant man's face, Lin Yu urged him. My lord, if I let the organization know of my betrayal, my fate will be miserable. The mutant man had a look of embarrassment on his face. He hesitated and said, he was worried that he would recruit Lin Yu and Ophelia. Once Lin Yu lost to the large number of mutants in the stronghold, his fate would not be any worse than that of Lin Yu. Don't worry, since I've come here, no one here will die. There was momentum rising from Lin Yu, which made the man feel bitter. He could only hope that Lin Yu was really strong enough to silence everyone in the stronghold. Rex, why are you injured? Where are the others? The mutant man led Lin Yu and Ophelia through a long downward passage. When the mutant man walked out of the passage, a surprised voice sounded. Lin Yu followed the mutant man, followed him out of the passage, and saw a man wearing a hard hat and a worker's uniform standing in front of the mutant man, and he was throwing a lot of egg file-size balls in his hand move. Rex, who are they? Have you forgotten the rules of the organization? The moment he saw Lin Yu and Ophelia, the man screamed with anger in his tone. Lin Yu's face was calm, and he said flatly, don't shout, I forced him to come. As for the other people sent by your so-called organization, you will be reunited with them soon. Rex, you actually betrayed the organization. You have to know the fate of betraying the organization. The man's exclamation just now has attracted the attention of everyone around him. A large group of people immediately surrounded him. One of them, a tall man covered in black clothes, seemed to be the leader among the crowd, and let out a cold drink. Stop yelling. Starting with you guys today, soon I'll go to the headquarters of your boring organization and dismantle it myself. HMPH. Young man, your tone is not small. I have already killed quite a few people like you. The little leader said in a cold voice, and with a wave of his hand, a group of mutants had already surrounded Lin Yu and the 3 of them. Rex's face was pale, not only because of excessive blood loss, but also because of the energy riot surrounded by a large number of mutants. He is now seriously injured and has no way to resist. Very good. Even our mission objectives have been brought. Young man, I can consider keeping your whole body later. The leader was seeing Ophelia behind Lin Yu clearly. His eyes flashed brightly. He already understood that the few people sent out, except the betrayed Rex, might never come back again. Everyone is an elite in the organization. In order to cultivate these mutants, the organization has paid a huge price. One death is an unbearable loss. Now 5 people have died. Take him down for me, Ophelia, you'd better catch him without a fight. What the higher-ups want is you alive. Definitely, if you insist on resisting, you can't blame others if you die. The leader opened his mouth, but the crowd was already pressing on, surrounding the three of them. From the time you killed my family, you should know that if I don't die, I will die, or you will die. Ophelia gritted her teeth with endless hatred. Now that she has arrived here, she has let go of all her scruples and is ready to fight everyone mutant together with Lin Yu. HMPH. Do it. The leader didn't bother to talk nonsense. Lin Yu killed 5 elites and took it anyway. All of a sudden, all kinds of strange energies rioted in an instant, and all of them surged up. The mutants' abilities were all kinds of strange, and Lin Yu didn't care too much. Ding. Attacked by a bomb. Target person, mutant. Attack energy value, 400. Available to absorb, bounce, and parse backups. Parsing backups consumes energy value, 800. Is it a rebound? Do you want to parse the backup? Ding. Cursed attack. Target person, mutant. Attack energy value, 292. Ding. Attacked by dark energy. Target person, mutant. Attack energy value, 621. Ding. Under physical attack. Target person, mutant. Attack energy value, 370. Ding. Attacked by an energy blast. Target person, mutant. Attack energy value, 400. But in an instant, the armor of thorns fed back a lot of information. Looking at the large group of mutants constantly attacking his defensive shield, Lin Yu was a little interested. These mutants have various abilities, and many of them can be parsed and backed up. Parse slowly, because there is no need for that. There will be better ones later. Shenluo Tianzheng. With a soft shout in Lin Yu's heart, the huge repulsive force instantly rioted, and under the condition of consuming a lot of energy value, it directly turned into a strong invisible wave, which rushed towards all directions. Under Lin Yu's control, as long as the mutant came into contact with the powerful repulsive force of Shenluo Tianzheng, blood would spurt wildly at the first time, the body would be thrown into the air, and the sound of many bones breaking would be heard at the same time. The leader reacted the fastest. He was the one who launched the dark energy to attack Lin Yu just now. At the moment of perception, a thick black fog filled the leader's body, completely enveloping his body. At that time, the black mist dissipated directly, but the figure of the leader was not seen. Boom! The incomparable repulsive force erupted, like dropping a bomb on a calm lake. Everyone was under the casino. This secret space was trembling under the power of Shenluo Tianzheng. The slightly weak wall had collapsed. Stare at a large amount of earth and rocks are also constantly falling. Rex's face was pale. This secret stronghold is quite secretive and solid. It is said that it can withstand missile bombing, but now it is in front of him. It began to collapse. A large piece of earth and rock fell, and a large piece of wall fell directly towards the place where Lin Yu and the 3 of them were sheltering. Rex let out a scream in fright, but before Lin Yu's solid mask, he couldn't fall at all, and was caught by Lin Yu. With a wave of his hand, a powerful repulsion burst out and he pushed it away. Lin Yu let out a light sigh. When the Shenluo Tianzheng broke out just now, most of the enemies in this stronghold received serious injuries. Some people had been buried under the earth and the breath of life dissipated, but they were able to stand in the field unscathed. There are 2 more. One of them is the leading man who was shrouded in black mist and disappeared at the critical moment, and the man who just entered the underground stronghold and saw a man in labor insurance service with a bunch of balls in his hand. The man wearing the hard hat, when the strong repulsive force approached him, an invisible force field formed around him, swallowing the power of Shenluo Tianzheng launched by Lin Yu. Now it seems that his face is still rosy, and he is obviously not injured. And the black mist emerged and condensed somewhere, and quickly formed a figure, which was the leading mutant. Who the hell are you? Looking at the collapsed underground stronghold in front of him, the leading man was furious. Lin Yu killed his subordinates almost instantly, leaving only one person, and he escaped with his mutant ability by luck. Rex saw the scene in front of him, and there was a deep shock in his eyes. In his opinion, the strength of this stronghold is quite terrifying. He didn't expect that Lin Yu would almost destroy the entire stronghold with just one explosion. My lord, the leader's ability is very special. He can travel through the dark space and the real world. It is difficult to get close with ordinary attacks, and his ability is energy absorbing, and it can be injected into any object and turned into a bomb at any time. It explodes, you have to be careful. Seeing this scene, Rex already knew that he had completely betrayed the organization and was tied to Lin Yu. He had no reservations about this and told Lin Yu about their abilities. Rex, the organization won't let you go. Hearing Rex burst out his ability, both the leader and the man with the bomb in his hand all looked angry and shouted, wishing to kill Rex now. HMPH, my lord is here, you still dare to be arrogant, think about yourself first. Rex has grown a lot more courageous now, ignoring the intimidation and threats of the two at all, and said firmly. Lin Yu didn't say anything. The blue electric current surged on the mask, directly forming two powerful electromagnetic pulse shells, splitting into two directions, and lacing directly towards the two people's positions. Lin Yu was also a little surprised that the two of them were able to survive under his Shenluo Tianzhong without any injuries, and had to lament the special and powerful mutant ability. Two electromagnetic pulse shells attacked the two of them. The leader had seen Lin Yu's attack just now, and now he didn't dare to be tough. In an instant, his body was wrapped in black air, and the electromagnetic pulse shell directly penetrated the black aura and hit the ground, exploding. A group of strong blue light was emitted, accompanied by thousands of electric snakes, causing another big shock around the area. The earth and rocks were messy, and the entire underground stronghold was like a rootless duckweed in a storm, and it was about to collapse completely. The other electromagnetic pulse shell hit the man wearing a helmet, but the explosion in the 770 was not imagined. The light flickered, the blue electromagnetic pulse shell weakened, and the man's body was rippling. Slowly absorbed the entire shell completely. Good, a lot of flavor. After absorbing the blue electromagnetic pulse shell, the man also absorbed a large number of electric snakes that spread from the explosion of another shell, and showed a comfortable look on his face. A look of interest flashed in Lin Yu's eyes. This man's ability is very similar to the armor of thorns. It can energy absorbing and transform, but what the man transforms into is the bomb in his hand, and after Lin Yu absorbs it, he became energy value. Analyze his ability for me. Lin Yu's heart moved. This mutant's ability is quite special, which made him very interested in energy absorbing, which injects energy into any object and detonates it at any time according to his mind. If he can obtain it, it can be regarded as a kind of sinister good means. Ding. Consume 30,000 points of energy value, analyzed and backed up successfully. Congratulations on obtaining the Energy Solid State Explosion (CBEB) explosion ability. Under the image of the armor of thorns in Lin Yu's mind, there is an additional icon, a small blue energy bomb covered with dense spikes. There is no standard for energy release, but the specific information clearly explains how much to inject. Energy, the power of the explosion. After getting this ability, Lin Yu chuckled. It was a windfall. This ability is somewhat similar to the methods of Didera and Gambit, very interesting. Lin Yu's eyes are keen, and he has already seen that the man's forehead is slightly sweaty after absorbing the electromagnetic pulse gun. It can be seen that his energy absorbing is not too against the sky, not like his armor of thorns. As long as it does not reach the upper limit, how much energy can be absorbed and stored. Since you like it, I'll give you some more. Lin Yu saw through the reality of the man, smiled slightly. Huge energy surged instantly, and 10 blue electromagnetic pulse shells appeared on his face, and they were already approaching the man's body in an instant. The moment he saw 10 electromagnetic pulse shells appear, the man's expression changed, but the speed of the pulse shells was much faster than him, and he couldn't dodge them at all. With a loud roar, the man's body swelled a bit, and all the small bombs in his hands went towards the 10 shells, collided together, and the raging fire burst out instantly, trying to offset part of the power of the pulse shells. Boom, boom, boom. Intensive explosions sounded, and the underground stronghold that was about to be discussed, after experiencing the devastation of this explosion, was finally overwhelmed and completely collapsed. In the casino above the underground stronghold, a lot of bottomless cracks appeared on the ground at the moment, and earth, rocks, tables and chairs were constantly falling into it. As early as when the ground was shaking, everyone in the casino panicked and fled. In the casino at the moment, except for the messy tables and chairs, there are no ordinary people anymore. Boom. Amidst the loud noise, the casino also collapsed and subsided. The space of the underground stronghold was not small, and the entire casino sank, forming huge amounts of tionking. Before the vibration stopped, the explosions sounded one after another. The 10 blue electromagnetic pulse shells fired by Lin Yu were extremely powerful, and they were not something that mutant could swallow. They were far beyond his limit. The heavy ground was lifted up by the explosion, a large amount of earth and rock flew into the sky, and then fell heavily, accompanied by a large number of blue electric snakes. The scene was extremely terrifying. Everyone who had already evacuated from the casino was startled when they saw the violent explosion. When the rocks fell all over the sky, many people were injured, causing everyone to flee in a hurry and leave this right and wrong place quickly. Among the ruins of the sunken casino, a piece of golden mask was propped up. Lin Yu waved it casually, a large piece of earth and rock was lifted, the golden mask slowly disappeared, and the figure of the owner appeared. And the bomber has been completely reduced to pieces. The black aura diffused out, and the leader looked at the scene in front of him in horror, and his figure appeared from another space. A dark space. Interesting. Lin Yu watched the leader reappear, and the look of interest in his eyes became more intense. Before the leader could say anything, the golden mask retracted and turned into a light mist, dragging a golden tail, and rushed towards the leader. Etc. When the leading man saw Lin Yu attacking brazenly, a trace of fear flashed in his eyes, and he exclaimed, wanting to make Lin Yu stop. Although his ability is powerful, it allows him to travel through the real space for a short time and enter another dark space. In this way, when facing a crisis, his survival ability is much stronger than other mutants. However, this kind of ability is not unlimited. Every time he escapes into the dark different space, he needs to consume a lot of dark energy, and there is a time interval limit for re-entering. Now he has just shuttled out of the dark different space, and there is no way to do it again. Use. Facing the golden light and shadow, the leader could only use all his strength to mobilize the few dark energy in his body, barely forming a black light film in front of him, hoping to block Lin Yu's blow. Looking at the black light film, Lin Yu remained unmoved, rushed to the man, punched out heavily, the strength of the body exploded, and the strong wind blew away. Wave. With a crisp sound, the black light film was very fragile in front of Lin Yu's fist and was directly blasted, and then Lin Yu's fist landed on the man's raised arms. Crack. There was a clear sound of bone cracking, and the man let out a scream, and his body was thrown into the air in response to the sound, and he fell more than 10 meters away, and fell heavily between the ruined walls. Several times without success. And Lin Yu's tall and straight figure was already standing in front of him. The man looked at Lin Yu with a hint of despair in his eyes. Lin Yu stood in front of the man, looked down at the man in front of him condescendingly, and said in a cold voice, "Tell me, where are your headquarters? Maybe I will give you a happy ending." The man looked at Lin Yu, gritted his teeth, and endured the severe pain of the shattered bones in his arm. "If you want me to be a traitor like Rex, you can't do it. Even if you kill me, don't try to learn anything from me." Ophelia and Rex also came behind Lin Yu, looking at the leader lying on the ground in front of them. Both of them could not hide their surprise in their eyes. "Chairman, I have a way to get him to speak. It will take some time." Ophelia hated this organization to the core, and had no mercy for the man in front of her. With a wave of her palm, a drop of venom emerged, with a strange purple in the dark green, which was different from the venom she used before. A purple drop of venom swiped at Ophelia's fingertips, and gradually approached the man on the ground, causing his eyes to become terrified. Before he could speak, the venom had already stained his skin, and it corroded quickly, making his skin began to fester in an instant. Ah! Feeling the heart-piercing pain coming from the wound, straight into the soul, the man let out a roar that didn't sound like a human voice. Ophelia flicked her hand to control the toxins on the man's skin, and his pain gradually eased. "From now on, answer whatever you ask, otherwise, I will make you feel the pain thousands of times before." Ophelia's face was cold. After seeing Lin Yu's strength and seeing the hope of revenge, she will never be soft-hearted now. I told you all, the headquarters is." The man was breathing heavily, and blood was still gushing out of his mouth. The pain just now made him understand what life is better than death, and he didn't dare to disobey it anymore. He opened his mouth with difficulty, and told everything he knew about the headquarters. "Very good. You can go to hell." Ophelia snorted coldly, and broke the leader's neck, ending his sinful life. Lin Yu looked at this scene and didn't say much. If Ophelia was not allowed to kill the people in the organization with her own hands, she might have a knot in her heart. Okay, Ophelia, that's all for today. Now that I know their headquarters, I will take you to visit them in person soon. After killing the man in front of her, Ophelia relaxed. The family's hatred was partly avenged, which relieved the pain in her heart. My lord, can I go? At the moment Rex asked Lin Yu with a complimenting look on his face. Well, you can also go away. But from now on, I hope to see you again, and what happened today, if you notify the organization, you should be very clear about the consequences. Lin Yu nodded. With a thought in his heart, he reached into his pocket and took out a bank card. The newly acquired energy solid-state blasting ability was activated, and 800 energy value was injected into it. Throw it to Rex casually. Big, my lord. Rex caught the bank card thrown by Lin Yu. His face was stunned, and then he was a little pleasantly surprised. The chairman of Future Technology must be extremely generous. Thank you, my lord. I know what to do. I'm leaving now. Rex put away the bank card given by Lin Yu, nodded hurriedly, and quickly disappeared into the night. Seeing Lin Yu's actions, Ophelia was taken aback, a little puzzled. Chairman, do you really want to let him go, in case he leaks the news? Ophelia spoke with some hesitation. Lin Yu's behavior just now made her feel that although Lin Yu's strength is terrifying, he still lacks in experience, so she opened her mouth to remind her. However, before Ophelia finished speaking, the corners of Lin Yu's mouth turned up slightly, a cold look appeared on his face, and in the distance, boom. A powerful explosion sounded, and the air wave quickly blew across a piece of land, shaking the ruins. He can't live. Lin Yu smiled slightly, which shocked Ophelia's mind again, secretly admiring Lin Yu's mysterious means. Thank you, Chairman. From Ophelia's point of view, Lin Yu is avenging herself, and she is even more moved. Lin Yu killed Rex just casually. Too many things happened today. Once leaked, not only the mysterious organization will know and deal with it in advance, but even Lin Yu will be in some trouble, so no matter what, Lin Yu will not let Rex go. When there is no one, just call me Lin Yu, let's go. Lin Yu opened his mouth lightly, and took Ophelia to leave directly. The roar of the luxury car sounded, and he left this land of right and wrong far away. While driving all the way, Ophelia didn't say a word. Obviously, what happened today had a big impact on her. Lin Yu didn't say much. Soon, the luxury car stopped in front of Lin Yu's own villa. At the moment, it was already midnight, but there was still light shining through the villa, which was Wanda's room. Hearing the sound of the car, the door of the villa opened, and Wanda in pajamas appeared at the door, but when she saw a beautiful woman beside Lin Yu, Wanda's surprised eyes suddenly became a little dazed, and she seemed a little disappointed. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.